Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Rod, Kimberly Schmidt, Todd Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, John Travolta, JMelds24, Unimento, M, Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, More Books, Canna Bear, Fibre Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B. Styles, Troy Shuker, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another huge thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now, I'm also going to do a plug to my current GoFundMe campaign. So one of my amps has gone bang, and my wife isn't particularly pleased as I've swiped the amplifier that currently, or was running on the centre channel, which basically puts a commission any sort of TV watching or anything for the family. But it's spring, or that's what I've told them. So I can actually hear the guests at the moment, albeit a slightly reduced gain on a slightly wrong amplifier. But there we go, needs must. But yeah, I do need to actually fix this problem that constantly occurs, and my solution to it is just to buy new amplifiers, just a lot more modest than the ones that I currently have and have had for about, I don't know, maybe 15 years, maybe a little bit less. And they were very expensive, but they've served their purpose and built this channel. Now I just need to replace them, and that's why I've got a GoFundMe going. So thank you very much to all of you who've supported it thus far. I think I should probably do that first and shout out all the people who have currently supported the campaign. So shout out to Rebecca Flowers, Matt, an anonymous donor. Thank you very much indeed to you, and also Michael Seklovsky. Hopefully I've said his name correctly. He's one of my longest serving contributors. So thank you very much indeed, Michael, and all the other people who supported me so far on GoFundMe. Now, if you do decide that you did want to contribute to this GoFundMe campaign, the only thing I would suggest after you put in the amount that you want to contribute is to reduce the tip amount to 0. They do take a chunk of the campaign anyway, so there's no need necessarily to give them any more, unless, of course, you want to. The only other thing, if you didn't want to necessarily contribute financially, which is perfectly understandable, if you can, just share it. So click on the share button and then stick it on Facebook or Twitter or wherever it is you like sharing things, and that has a massive impact as well, and has done with previous GoFundMe campaigns. So in advance, because I know a couple of these shows will be going out over the weekend and to members and various other people that aren't necessarily picking up at the time of recording, but undoubtedly, as this particular campaign's had a fairly slow start, I've got to be honest, it'll probably be going while this goes out in the future. So I will still put links to the GoFundMe campaign, as I'm very keen to get the system running up as it should be. It's a very, very nice system. I'm not going to pretend for 1 minute that it's absolutely necessary to have all of this really, really top-end equipment to run a YouTube channel. It isn't, but I have it anyway, and I want to maintain it. It's very good, very nice, and it's the stuff that I've used to build this channel, and I want to maintain it to a certain extent, even if that means downgrading the amplifiers in this instance, just to keep them functional. Anyway, that's enough of my plugging my GoFundMe. Please support it, And with that, I'll hand over to whoever is in Discord and G+, so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
That's it. The whole shouldn't do is trying to bring people under the law again.
Yeah,
See,
exactly.
people don't realize it. It's like the only law we have is like love. That's our love, right?
Am I in the wrong room?
The only law we have is love.
Oh, hi,
Remember,
Nathan. Sorry,
No,
you're
no,
right.
I'm in the right room. Got just joined with a load of hippies.
wait, what's going on, Nathan?
Nothing, I'm just muttering to myself. So, am I in the wrong room? Have I joined a load of hippies?
Well, you're in the right room, Nathan.
Good to know.
Do you want some love? No, I'm joking.
I've got plenty, I'm alright. Don't need any more. Even my enemies love me.
You know that verse that says iron sharpens iron? People think it's about debate and let's reason and stuff like that together, but it's really about sharpening a person's countenance. In other words, facial expression. You know, a cheerful facial expression around a cheerful facial expression, right? Just get more cheerful and cheerful.
Likewise, a scowl can instill fear in the warmest-hearted man.
Mind you, back in the UK, I'll tell you what, like living where we lived, you'd walk out and everyone's got such. If you smiled, they'd actually turn around to you and go, "What do you want?"
Yeah. You say that was back in the UK?
Yeah, back in the UK when I lived there, it was like, oh, it was like just it was a nightmare. People are just so miserable.
Yeah, is that true, Nathan? I mean, he has experience living in the UK. What do the people look like there?
I
Okay,
nipped out
maybe
to
he's
make
out to get
coffee. I heard
coffee.
my name. What was the question? Sorry.
Never mind. Go make your coffee
No
first and
worries,
then
no
come
worries.
back. But anyways, yeah, it's just you and me then, right? We can go on talking about love, I guess. Hey, Neil.
Hi, Neil.
Is that it? You're just looking for a mic check?
That's correct.
We love you, Neil.
So what's up, Neil?
Affirmative.
What?
Can he hear us or not? I don't know.
I don't
I
have
don't
my
know. He said.
I don't have my headphones on, so.
All right, so he's doing an old Nathan, like maybe next Tuesday or something like that. Yeah. All right, so I guess it's just us again.
Just explain to me real quick what the job of a moderator is, so I know. Because
What the
there's
job?
issues.
What the job? What the job of a moderator
About
is?
Nathan's show on chat. What's the story? You just time somebody out if they get disrespectful, if they're nasty, if they use vulgarity, if they're trolls that just keep wasting people's times. Like, what's the thing? Do you trust your moderators? I know Nathan does, but I need to get it clarified.
Well, you can ask for Nathan for clarification, but in the meantime, you just do it according to your best of your abilities, right? As what seems right to you, how to do it.
Because I think it's when you start worrying about offending ballers, but in the meantime you're offending flat earthers who donate, who super chat, and who've been made moderators and trusted by Nathan and cause them to, you know what, I'm not even going to come around anymore, then I'm sorry, it's wrong.
Yeah.
Has something happened or?
Well, some people get involved, and when other people time somebody out, another certain moderator sticks his nose in and causes a big ruckus.
Yeah, there seems to be a discussion about how to moderate Nathan's chat. YouTube chat.
Yeah, now you got Michael Kahn, who's a good guy, saying, you know what? I'm not even going to mess around. I don't even want my wrench anymore. I'm just not going to come around chat anymore. So, because you want to protect people and thrown away,
Breaking up, Neil.
like to help. They run out and they do missionary work and people starving right in the house of God.
Yeah, last bit you broke up with, but yeah. Sometime next Tuesday, I would expect. Hopefully.
Neil, begging your pardon, if I may, please don't leave the chat. I enjoy you being in the chat.
I didn't hear anything. What happened?
I said, Neil, please don't leave the chat. I enjoyed you being in the chat.
Oh, I'm not going to leave the chat. But, you get other people that don't want to be bothered. Like Michael said he
I was
doesn't
go-
want to be bothered now. He's a good guy. He's a good flat earther. So just put in when somebody's timing somebody out, if you got an issue, private message them on the side and say, listen, take it easy. But I didn't see super guy. He's a troll. He's a pain in the ass. I've timed him out 5 times in a row.
Moaning about the chat skanking. You guys pay way too much attention to that, you know.
Yeah, it should be like water's off a duck's back or
You have
something.
It should
people
be.
moderating.
Yes.
You
I
have
mean,
people
don't get me wrong.
moderating the chat and taking it seriously. But
Mm,
if they're gonna be interfered with by other moderators, then something's wrong.
Hey, Brian. Save us from Neil's terrible microphone.
Hey Nathan, hey Neil, hey everyone. I can't talk at the moment, so you're stuck with Neil. Sorry.
That's all right. It's just Neil's mic's pretty garbage at the moment for whatever reason.
Are you recording already, Nathan?
Always. If I'm here, I'm recording.
Got it. Thank you.
Is it still garbage now?
Pardon?
Is my mic still garbage now?
Well, if you have to say pardon, what do you think?
That could be me.
No, it's
I
only
should
trash
put my
now, Neil.
headphones in.
Yeah, it's been upgraded from garbage to trash.
No, I can
Is
actually
what
hear
Brian
quite
said.
clearly now. So what I've done is the amp that my wife uses to watch her movies and stuff for the centre speaker has been reappropriated so that I can actually hear what people are saying. Now, it's a very different gain setting which isn't adjustable on it, but at least it makes sound, and therefore I can hear, which I couldn't last 2-3 days. I was really struggling to hear anything. I can't turn it up because it'll just feed back the moment I start talking. So it's just one of them, very, very frustrating, but at least temporarily. Oh, and I sent the other amp back as well, so I posted it off this morning, along with a little care package for my recently widowed, or widower, however you say it, amp tech.
Should I get a better mic check? Is it coming in any better now? Or am I
Yeah.
still garbage?
Yeah, it's fine, that's fine.
What's on
So
the
what was in
agenda
that
for
care
today?
package?
Say again, Righteous.
Said what was in that care package? Sorry for your loss. The earth is flat.
No. I got him a Gardener's World and like a puzzler, some code puzzler book, and a bar of chocolate. And I just put a note in. I couldn't find a card. They were all in the local shop. They were all just birthday cards, and I was like, no, that's not what I need. So I just hand wrote it. Just words to the effect of just to let him know that we're thinking of him. That was all.
What type
That's
of
good.
chocolate?
Cadbury, biggest bar I could find.
Nice.
Yeah, I just shoved that in
Hey,
with the amp and posted it off to him this morning. Which wasn't what my original intention was, but I don't know if I've mentioned this on update videos, but I was discussing it with my wife, because I was saying to my wife, what can I do to cheer him up? She's like, well, nothing. What can you do to cheer someone up when they lost their closest loved one. You know, there's nothing you can do. All you can do is take his mind off it temporarily, which isn't that great either. So give him your amp to fix. I'm like, I don't really want to fix this thing now. I want to replace it. I've already got a GoFundMe going. She's like, well, you asked. So I'm like, okay, fine. So without really skipping a beat, I just got it boxed up and sent it back to him. But I was like, already been discussing with what can we send as a care package? Not necessarily the amp, but just in an envelope. So it's just gone in with the amp to him. So by her her reckoning, having something that's what he does to do, he's probably got a whole stack of stuff like that. He's just ignoring it for all I know. I don't know. But you know, that's what you can do. You can give somebody their purpose in life beyond their partner.
That's what I would do. Get back to work.
You know what could help?
And that might be the one that jaws him, you know, shakes him up a little bit, where he's like, let me get back to work. Oh, this chocolate is delicious. Thank you very much, Nathan.
I'm not
You know what
expecting
could help?
miracles out of a bar of chocolate, you know what I mean? But for like under a tenner, it might cheer him up for 10 seconds.
What could help is getting them a kitten. I mean, that really
just
does
like
the
my
job. I
wife.
remember when,
No, I'm not going to get the guy a 10 to 12 to maybe even 15-year investment in a new life form. No, definitely not.
That is
Well,
the
I only
worst
say that
idea ever.
I only said that because when I lost my cat, the Lord hooked me up with the new baby kitten, and that brightened up my sister and me a lot. Just having the new baby kitten, so that's why I said.
Did you say when you lost your cat?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, this is about
Okay.
when COVID started.
Anyway.
This guy lost his wife.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I know, but it's still like it really helps you, you know, seeing a cute kitten running around and doing all the cute stuff they do.
I usually find that most widows, people like, you know, people who are like temporary widowed, usually do go to companionship with animals, don't they? So
Yeah, but the last thing you need is somebody foisting an animal upon you. You know what I mean? And I'm sure that's how it always ends up. But I don't want to be the one to do that. Not at all. Bar of chocolate, couple of magazines, nice note. That's
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's good. And you got good chocolate too.
I've already,
You know,
I
the
got him, when I
Cadbury is
found out I got
different
him,
in America.
when I found out I got him flowers, you know, and he's a guy, you know, but it's like that's what I do. I get people flowers. But more than once is a bit odd. So I'm not going to get him flowers again.
What's on the agenda for today?
I thought we were talking about my amplifier. I was quite enjoying myself.
No, I think for sure.
I enjoy myself. It's actually heartbreaking.
It's
I was
like,
thinking,
what do you
from
do?
yesterday's show, sorry.
Say again, Moop.
I was saying, like, yeah, from yesterday's show, it got me thinking about like what where we sit in what camp of a flat. Like, I don't want to do that, a religious thing. Like, you know, what denomination are you in? Do you know what I mean? In a sense, because like you say, because there's so like mixed messages. When you say like, oh yeah, but you guys believe there's a big dome round you. Well, I mean, obviously we don't know that, do we? We don't. What we do know, we know we've got containment, but we don't know how far that is, what that is. We can just perceive it, and like the same way they do pseudoscience, we just do our own pseudoscience, don't we?
No. We. The royal we. No. Flat earthers, yeah. If you want to stereotype them as a generalisation, I'd say, yeah. Most of them are out of the frying pan and into the fire. They want to find the next guru and the next just so story to replace the old one.
We're at the top. To answer your question, we are at the top.
Oh, I don't disagree with that. I think it's absolutely, you know, like I said, I think it's brilliant because it's so. The only way you're going to pull people, bull believers, is by the exact same way they use their lies, sort of thing. But we use it with actual, you know, evidence.
Yeah, my mentor always used to say, "We're at the cutting edge of scripture technology," and Nathan says, "We're at the cutting edge of FED, I guess, or something like that." That's what came to remembrance.
Yeah, we are.
And
We're at the
he's
cutting
right.
edge of the flat earth debate. Yeah, I would say that.
Now, I heard Brian say yesterday on the re-up of one of the shows, I said we don't have beliefs, we have facts. I never said anything about the Bible. Our facts rely on elevation angles and the black swan. Well, to devote the globe. But celestial navigation is a proof. I've heard you say it before, Nathan. I never once brought up the Bible. So when he said, I have beliefs, yeah, I have beliefs in God, but not to do with flat earth, as far as, having a belief or knowing for a fact.
Okay. Yeah, Brian gave a similar speech about 3 or 4 days ago, but then yesterday was talking about shorelines and shit, so I don't know what to say.
Shoreline. So I got news for you. That little puddle on my table, that's a shoreline.
I didn't get a rise out of him, it didn't work. So I don't know what we're going to be doing until 10th gets here. Or, alternatively, Gene did give us something to cover yesterday that we didn't, and a different Cody with a K.
I just want to say that Adam made claims about the firmament holding in the oceans and talked about us being in a flask. So
No,
you
he
can
didn't.
direct that at him.
No. I even laboured the point that he was using that as a comparison to say, I could offer an alternative in this scenario, and then gave the example that was a juxtaposition to your position. And I then jokingly said, quick, Brian, attack that. Yeah? But
I know. I'm only messing.
okay.
Yeah, no, I'm totally fine with the claim of a shoreline.
Here we
Because
go.
but a shoreline, I mean, what, like the Antarctic shoreline? You've heard that being said before.
So what?
So it depends on what people view as a shoreline. A shoreline is where the water can't go anymore, where it's contained. A shoreline is just a container. So
Okay.
people can say, it turns out it wasn't the shoreline, it was the firmament. Whatever, I don't care. I only working off of what I see, and I see oceans being contained by shorelines. That's all I know. I can't work off of something I don't know.
No, we get it. It's a logical inference that, on the one hand, I wouldn't necessarily object to, in the same way I wouldn't necessarily object to somebody saying dome. But for me personally, it's a claim too far, because it's something I've then got to defend rather than take apart the nonsense. Now, again, that's got two sides to it too, because on the one hand, I talk about the joy that this subject brings because of the childlike wonder that it brings to the table when you realise you don't know. Well, what's that useful for unless you're speculating to a certain degree? So on the one hand, for the benefit of the show, I decry what you're doing and go, this won't help you in debate, because that's the name of the show, right? That's the point of the show, to keep on the cutting edge of debate about the nature of Earth. However, I can't decry. In fact, off camera and off air, and pretend you're not hearing this if you're listening, I praise that, Brian, because I've got the same attitude. I really do want to know, and do often, off air, speculate about such things. But in debate, it never helps.
Well, the thing about it is that all I have to do in a debate, see, my attitude is this, all I have to do in a debate, if someone says, prove that there's shorelines holding in the oceans, I'll just show them a photograph of the Irish coast.
Of the what?
What about a tsunami?
Hold on.
Or any coast.
What that?
I just show them a photograph of the Irish coast or any coast. It's like, you tell me shorelines? How come, that water has been contained there? I'm working within what I know in reality. I can't work within, something that I don't know about. And they can't then argue against that, because that shoreline is stopping that water. So
Not during a
what are they going to
tsunami.
say? Well, yeah, but hang on. What are they going to say? Like, so my point being is that all the worst what will happen to me is that I will be debunked for saying it's a shoreline. It will become some other form of solid containment.
Hey, just
Like,
for the
whatever.
audience's benefit, though, Brian, when I hear the worst case scenario is that I'll lose, and I'm trying to disseminate the best way of winning. Can you understand how it's at the height of objectionableness, if that's a word, in this regard on the show? But yeah, off camera, you and I would discuss it at length with joy because of the wonderment that we have about what the world really is.
Well, for me, it's a win-win situation, because someone could come back and tell me, oh, it's not a shoreline, it's this other solid thing that contains the water. That still means it's not a globe. So I don't lose at all. For me, I don't feel like I lose at all in that situation. And if it turns out to be a shoreline, I totally win. You know what I mean? If I say containment and it turns out to be a shoreline, then I wasn't specific about my claim, so I don't have to worry about it. I know the oceans are contained. They can't not be. That's all I need to know. So I can say shoreline, and nobody can, like even Anthony saying the ice wall. I mean, how do you? You could say he's wrong to say it. Yeah, I wouldn't say ice wall. But
That's
how
Brian's
do you debunk
logic.
him? Yeah, how do you debunk him?
No. Try and debunk him. Of course, because it's my burden.
Is that how you got your name, Brian's Logic?
Well, I just gave that to myself. Yeah, I got that to I gave that to myself.
Whose burden is it
Listening
again?
to you, I'm saying
prove
that's
this ice
Brian's
wall?
Logic.
Whose burden is it to prove the ice wall that Anthony's claiming?
Well, that would be Anthony.
Right. So what is there to debunk if he's not offered any evidence to prove his claim? I can just say, what's Anthony's little phrase? Claims without evidence can be ignored without evidence, or something like that.
Oh,
Dismissed.
since we're giving arguments for structures, can I give one for the dome?
What a pro
Yeah.
dome? Is it a logical inference or is it evidence based?
Oh, it'd be the same. It'd be the same argument as what we've heard.
There's going to be a logically inference based argument as opposed to an evidence based argument. Do I have to listen to it?
No.
I can't close my ears. What do I want me to do? Go ahead.
Well, since the strongest structures we know of are domes, therefore the container must be a dome.
Ding, 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 ding.
Are you praising
I
this?
made that.
Let's just get established what that reaction was. Are you saying win, as in ding, 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 winner, winner, chicken dinner? Neil?
No. It's the strongest container, though.
Oh my God, he is taking it as a win.
Right. Now,
Yeah.
the thing is, though, you shouldn't be discussing or debating with someone about what the container is if they've not accepted they need a container.
That's the problem, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on. But without containment, we're not alive, buddy.
Okay, if in an ideal world, this discussion would take place under the following circumstances. We, as a group, would all agree at the start of the discussion that prior to the debate, discussion, speculation, we all agree we must have containment for, not liquid, gas pressure. So beyond this shoreline, there's going to be another container of some description to keep the gas pressure here. So to me, it's so superfluous. But that's aside to the point, right? So long as, while we speculate about what might contain the water, we all agree that regardless of the outcome of this discussion, containment is a prerequisite. It's an antecedent consequent relationship. We're going to have it, no matter what we discuss it might being. So now let's speculate. Once we've all got that concession together, we can then move forward with our speculation, our opinion, our logical inference. And that's fine. Yeah, in that sort of discussion. The problem is that it becomes a discussion at cross purposes when your opponent has not accepted that. They are under the misapprehension that you can achieve gas pressure without any containment, because Earth is a sphere with gas pressure and we don't have any containment. You can just zip off outside of the gas pressure that's not expanding into the sky vacuum. So while you speculate about what the container might be, they don't accept a container. What are you going to do? Well, they will immediately focus on what you say is an aspect of your claim, you can't prove. Because if you can't prove your aspect in this regard, an opinion or a speculation or a logical inference, then as far as they are concerned, when they take apart that aspect of that claim, the entirety of the claim fails. Now, is that logically sound or reasonable? No. But that's what we deal with. But as I said earlier, off camera, I'm more than willing to speculate about such things. And I do, often.
I wasn't claiming it was the dome, though. I was just using that as an example. I knew Neil would like it.
Yeah, you appeal to his bias.
I mean, it could be a logical inference to say that the strongest structures we know of are domes. So why wouldn't a container be a dome? I mean, that's
And-
hard logic.
And that's what we're all about here. Yeah, that logical inference is fine, so long as it's supported with a whole stack of evidence behind it. In other words, yeah, that, as I just said, is a fine discussion point to have. What do you think the container is? I don't know. Well, let's spitball about what it could feasibly be based on how Earth generally is seen to operate. If we can find examples of containment that naturally form within the structures and confines at maybe the microscopic level, perhaps we could infer that that's how it would apply on a much larger scale for us. Let's start looking at how containment's naturally formed. And we move forward, and then we speculate, and then we offer our opinion based on our evidence that we've offered to show comparisons, correlations, or whatever else is we're going to draw inference with. And I don't see any objection to that. In fact, that's a wonderful thing to be doing. I can't stress that enough. You know, I admire those who can speculate in those ways, because those people will be the kind of person that can say, I speculate this causes that. And those are the kind of people that are the geniuses in science, because at some point someone's actually got to speculate what actually causes the effect that's being studied. Now, don't get me wrong, whenever I've said this to Q, he's like, yeah, but the people doing it have got a pretty good idea already. I'm like, yeah, but that might be the case. But there's plenty of examples of them not getting it right, which means that at some point somebody has got to say, I think it's this, and they've got to be right when they vary it. Well, that, to me, is the genius of it, but you've got to speculate to get to that stage, haven't you? I think it might be this. I can't decry it, can't rule it out. You can just point out how it's not beneficial in debate. And we're not in debate at the moment, are we? We're speculating about what we think the container might be.
Yeah, we're talking from the other side of a paradigm shift. It's it's like speaking another language to someone, you know. If they can't, I was just gonna say, if they can't understand what you mean, you know, then you just, like Nathan said, cross purposes. They're not getting it. You know?
I believe the children are our future.
Lead the way. That is the next line in that song, and I can't remember.
What song?
That I believe the children are our future.
Teach them well and let them lead the
I think
way.
it's Earth Song by
Show them
Michael
all.
Jackson.
There was definitely, you know what Michael Jackson loved best about 28-year-olds?
Oh, God. Here we go.
They died.
There was 20 of them.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I know I shouldn't. Sorry, Mr. Jackson, if you're listening.
Which he may well be. Capable of listening as opposed to listening to this show specifically.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I know.
But I find such speculation extremely fascinating.
Yeah, one day we really need to sit down and define the difference between knowing, understanding, believing, all these different words, because I think a lot of people don't know.
Well, I'll break it down. What's belief?
An agreement upon a condition.
Then what's knowing?
The opposite of that. Experience and comprehension.
Okay, so that cuts it right there.
But like when a Glober comes in and says you don't understand, right? They're in ways right, because understanding requires you be able to comprehend the claim and that you believe that the claim's true. And that leaves you with understanding. It's a form of knowledge. Understanding. So
Or standing under what they believe.
I wouldn't say it that way, but I mean, you could get the idea across that way.
When somebody says, when a baller says to one of us, you don't understand, and the topic was gravity, how can they say that?
Okay, let me
Because
take it
I
away
don't
from.
believe them.
I'll take it away from the physical for the example for you, Neil. So if I describe how Klingon works as a language, and I try to speak to you in Klingon, and you don't get it, you don't understand, yeah? Then you don't get what's being spoken to you in that foreign language. You don't understand the language. Now, because there's a language that you don't understand, there is no automatic inference that Klingons are real simply because you don't understand the language. You understand?
Yes, that's why I said gravity, because we understand the language that they use.
Yeah, I know. I was
Sure, but
Or am I missing something?
no, if the question is time dilation in Narnia via wardrobe, and you don't understand the physics, in quotes, of it, and I give you the physics to the point of comprehension, and I ask you afterwards, do you understand the physics of time dilation via wardrobe travel to Narnia? And you say, yes, I understand the physics of time travel, or whatever it is, time dilation via wardrobe through to Narnia when you use the wardrobe. I understand. Now, further to that, you might add that you don't accept it as a reality because Narnia is not real. While you might understand the ideas and conventions developed within a realm that doesn't exist, you do understand the physics of the realm that doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that you believe they are in any way related to our reality. Now, that's a mouthful, isn't it? Understand?
I got it.
Especially like in the way that it's used in our society, because it has so many, understand has so many different meanings. And children are often, it's used as a word to make them feel less than. Like, oh, you don't understand. You know?
Well, I do it opposite with my kids. If I'm giving them instruction and I say to them, understand, they have to answer me back, understood. Otherwise, they don't understand. And they know that. So when I say to my son, understand, he'll say to me, understood.
Yeah, that I get, but the guy.
The definition goes as follows: to perceive the intended meaning of open brackets words, a language, or a speaker. Perceive the significance, explanation, or cause, I'm not sure about that, of. And then further to that, you've got interpret or view, open brackets, something in a particular way.
Yeah, that's such a ambiguous, like seeing, what led me to flat Earth, I think I've told y'all before, was I was looking at words and their meanings, trying to look at the laws, right, and understand them better. Like knowledge, if you look up the legal definition of it, is um, a positive claim. Shoot, how do they say it? It must be positive and imputed, which it means whether you're aware of its existence or not. Then by claiming it, you're, I say it, because there's two roads to knowledge. There's an understanding path and an experience path to knowledge. So you can experience something to have knowledge about it, or you can be taught about it, to have knowledge about it. One of them requires belief, and that's the understanding route.
What about when we give them the black swan modus tollens? If Earth is a sphere with a radius, if Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959, every horizon distance can be no further than, and we go through that, and it's from their math of their globe, of their non-existent radius. But if that radius did exist, that's what would have to be. Now, do they understand that, or do they not understand that?
And now you're into something else. Now you're into cognitive dissonance. That's something different.
Well, if something's going to blur a person's ability to know or understand, that could just be one of many. Cognitive dissonance could be one of many. It could be bias. It could be knowing the truth but protecting something that you don't want to get out, so you lie about it. So there's various things that could cause it, not just cognitive dissonance.
Right, but at the end of that statement, and then when they're shown proof that globe can't exist, they still don't believe it. So they've not understood it. The very ability.
I just want to reiterate what I said, though. Just 1 second. You're asking in
you're
regards
assuming...
to John's point in regards to whether or not they've understood it, right? Whether or not they've wrapped their head around the logical inference as you phrased it. Well, in answer to your question, if we're erring on the side of an understanding of anything, in other words, if the person we're talking about has a reasonable grasp of logic, then we will have to pre-assume that they do understand the logical setting that this has been phrased to them. And upon comprehending it, if they still reject it, it means they have to not only comprehend the logic as sound, but also still hold true to the logic of a physical limitation, hill, earth curve as well, which is cognitive dissonance. Now, if you say, well, they haven't comprehended it, in other words, they can't see the truth in the logical form, then that's a different subject altogether, because then they haven't understood it. So that's a different question, isn't it? Because then we're talking about somebody that just doesn't have the comprehensive skills to understand logic. Now, in this instance, it's a convolution between the two paths that John's described. And I'm glad you have, John, because it suddenly cemented why it's such a clever construction of logic, because it forces them to take a belief-based, maths-based construct, put it into reality and watch it fail.
Wow, that's true.
Well, their claim is we live on a globe, and the reason things disappear bottom up first is because the Earth's surface is curved. A physical blockage is occurring. And then when you show them various situations where that is not happening, where it's supposed to be happening based on their own Earth curve math, they'll bring in, oh, that's refraction, that's mirroring, that's some kind of miraging, Snell's law, which they probably don't get right and apply it properly. But they just start throwing all these things. And then you say, well, let's go into that and see why you say that. And does that hold up? Because, if it's a mirage or something, then it's something we've all experienced. What is a mirage? So now you go into stooping and looming and all these crazy things. And you say, why is it every time something's supposed to be blocked by Earth curve and it's not, and there's a violation that Earth curve doesn't exist, you have all these excuses, and the range is either hundreds of miles with these great mountain shots or thousands of miles if you're the guy on the airplane with the infrared camera, to just something that an everyday person, or the Joshua on the wiki picture. You guys have all the excuses in the world. Earth curve is never around. It's always something else.
Super looming.
Slightly
Yeah, that-
looming non-standard refraction.
Well, you're describing apologetics for a belief at that point, right?
You're describing
Sounds like it.
the
Well,
gunk they've
yeah,
poured
probably,
in the cracks
but-
in the concrete. That's what you're describing.
Well, I think we have to put it to, I don't normally debate a PhD or someone who knows what Snell's law is, because I'd have to go read it to know how to defend it or argue it. I know they misuse it because I've heard enough back and forth on it. But the whole point is, you're supposed to be showing me Earth curve, and your own priests tell me I can't get high enough to ever see it. And yet you're telling me it's happening. And then when we show you it's not happening, you're saying it's something else that's making it flat. That's why you don't see Earth curve, because of this humidity, this and this and this. No one's ever seen this doggone thing.
Well, in all fairness, the Earth curve, it exists below surface level. So how are you supposed to see it?
I'm glad you went there. It does exist just below surface level.
That is strange, though, how they, they remove when you say it's physical, where's the physical, and then they move it, and that's when they go into their refraction, superlumin, and all that, isn't it? But they move away from the physical.
Yeah.
Yeah, they start telling us it's optical. We've been telling them it's optical for years.
So maybe we should say, do you see what I'm saying, instead of do you understand?
Oh, you got me?
You got me. Don't think of what you're going to say next before you make a spectacle of yourself.
Right. But them saying the refraction, right? That's even worse than what it was before the logical modus tollens, right? Because you're supposed to be getting a dip angle to that horizon. That's what all globe proofs claim, is a dip angle. If you're going to curve a line, do you have an angle?
Of course not. But if they're going to say they're going to get a dip angle to the horizon, which is just a depression angle, then if it's refracted like everything else is, then you never got the correct angle, even though it's impossible with a curved baseline to begin with. 2 hours later, Al Baruni, if that story is true, would have had a different dip angle, or a day later. Weather changes. But he didn't even know about refraction. So on that one particular day, according to their... No, your argument kills it right away because you can't get the angle. I get it.
Yeah, but you're
I'm
when what
talking
you're
about this
describing, you're
refraction
giving
itself
the
kills it.
angle. Yeah, no, but what I'm saying though is in
No,
what you're
I know.
saying, you're giving them the angle and just saying it's a different angle. It's not an angle at that point.
No,
So
no, I should have I should have clarified. I'm going to refraction, and refraction destroys everything because they could never get it. So the whole thing is gone from the point of refraction. The second way it's gone, or all the time it's gone, you can't ever get an angle. So you can't say dip angle to the horizon and say you live on a globe. That destroys them. But if they want to keep talking about refraction, then you can destroy it based on the refraction argument, which is, well, if it's refracted, you never could have got it.
right, and we'll see. Like when they do their refraction, right? They say in one image it's a curved line going around a curve and creating an apparent horizon. Just ridiculous stuff, right? But when they want to apply it, they use a straight line of sight and inflate their sphere.
Right.
Well, it's always an inflation of the radius and
Seven
inflation of the sphere. Yeah. See, if you use the argument, well, it says here that at 1 foot it can only be 1.23 with refraction. The problem with that is that's just with standard 7/6 lattice. That is not the extra of terrestrial refraction, which can be anything over 6. So they have a golden ticket when it comes to their refraction claim, because they can see any observation and just add any amount of calculated over 6 or they need to add. Now, it's nonsense because there's no curve between you and the object you're looking at. It's a horizontal. But they have to, for you to be able to see it, they're able to add in this golden ticket, anything they need over 6 or. But the main thing is, where did they get this or to calculate this over 6 or? They needed a geometric horizon to as a point of tangency to measure to, which they don't have because they always have a constant of 7/6 or that is always present. So they could never see the geometry to measure it. So they're caught.
Well, what I'm saying though is the moment they say refraction, whether it's terrestrial, anything, they're not claiming the Earth is getting bigger. They're claiming refraction, and that's an optical change occurring at a rate of r. Well, that curve can never give you a dip angle. You can't get a dip angle at that point.
No, you can't. Can't do any of that. No, because you need a dip angle.
Curve
Has
is
to
not
be
an angle.
a horizontal baseline.
Yeah, well, you need
Right,
a
curve
straight
is not an
line.
angle.
Right, you need a straight line to measure again. So they're
Exactly.
done. They can't even get into that if they say refraction. They don't have
Morning, guys.
anything.
What's up, Chocolate?
Hey,
They got a
Chocolate.
rubber ruler.
But what they can do, John, is they can treat it as flat, right? They can treat it as flat and then convert it back to what they need it to be within their belief. While the reality is we're looking at flat and measuring flat. They can just convert it back and show you an orthographic diagram of what it is on their globe. Do you know, that's what they do. And this is like okay for them. For them, that's fine. That's totally fine. Whereas for us, it's complete craziness to do that. But that's okay for them. That's the problem.
You're talking about the below surface level inflating the sphere and keeping a straight line to a horizon that exists below surface level. Yeah, Ruhi have done that, and you know, like, what can you do but laugh at them at that point?
Well, you see, what they'll do is they'll calculate it flat. We're using a flat Earth, right? They'll do the calculations of the depression angle using a flat Earth, and then once they've done that, they'll just bring their globe back to orthographically what it would be, right, with 3959 radius, and just bend the line of sight. So you're seeing over a big massive curve. That's what they're trying. But yes, you're not. You're seeing it directly in your horizontal. Do you know what I mean? But that's it. And they'll say, "See, proven, globe." You know what I mean? That's the craziness of their claim.
Yep.
Yeah, and then but we can't get a dip angle anymore. Forget about that part. But look, we're seeing over a curve. That's great, isn't it, guys?
Well,
What curve?
if you look at the photographs, if you look at the photographs of a depression angle, the baseline is the eye line, and then it's coming down to something. You look at the photograph of an elevation angle, the baseline is the flat Earth, and it's coming up. But no matter what it is, an angle is two straight lines. None of this stuff could ever work on a curved surface. Is what
That's
you're saying,
correct.
John.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's even worse when they say refraction, because then the only straight line they had, the tangent line, they disavowed that. That was your dip angle. You're saying you don't have one now. Like, what are you judging on? Where's all this crap coming from now?
Hey, who used to come in and claim line of sight? Who was that? Geez, I forgot his name.
Kuma virus.
Yeah, line of sight.
Flat Earth Debate live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, before I introduce who we are joined by, I've also got a GoFundMe campaign running currently, so if you'd like to support the campaign, wonderful. If you do happen to donate to it, just make sure you set the tip amount to 0, as they do take a chunk anyway, so you just enter your amount and then slide it down to 0. Hopefully someone in the live stream chat will put a link to this as I am plugging it. And if indeed you did not want to support my GoFundMe campaign, but you did want to help in some small way, then please share it. So click on the share button in the campaign, smash it on Twitter, smash it on Facebook. It does make a difference. So massive thanks and appreciation to all of you who have supported the campaign so far. So I'll do that now. Shout out to Rebecca Flowers, Matt, an anonymous donor. Thank you very much indeed for the £50. Also to Michael Seklivosky. Hopefully I've said your name right, given how long you've been contributing to me and my campaigns and my various other endeavours. So thank you very much to all of you for supporting me on GoFundMe. Now we are joined by, press a few buttons, Brian's Logic, Neil, Refracted Curvature, 10th Man Rising, Chocolate Sane, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Hello.
Hello. Good
Hello.
afternoon.
Hello. Good morning.
Right, we might get to the
Yo,
video that we
yo.
didn't cover yesterday. So yesterday we had 2 Codys, and we covered Cody's lab, and I think today we may cover the other Cody. So if you were hoping or voted for that yesterday, you're going to get your wish, because we're going to cover that today. But in the meantime, is there any evidence of the distance to the sun?
It's over there.
No.
I see it outside.
In case you don't get the link or you didn't understand yesterday's show, Cody's lab was claiming distances to I think it was the nearest star, something like that. It makes no difference. It was all based on Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion and an assumption that Venus is Earth's twin with the same radius that can't be measured at the geometric horizon formerly known as Earth curve. So there you go. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Gravity, what's that?
Which one?
It's that thing that has to be
Has
there,
a-
I
or
would
the
be
gas
happy
will
with an
stick to the
observed
ball.
phenomenon.
That's
4 people, maybe 5.
I like,
Arwin, I had
I
first.
like what John said.
Yeah, go on, Arwin.
I said it's gravity is the thing that has to be there. You don't have to know what it is. You just have to know that it keeps the gas stuck to the ball. That's all.
No, it doesn't do that. It's not a force.
I like
Well,
what John
if it-
said.
Okay, let's hear what John said. Hold on, 10th. You can go next. Go ahead, John.
At this point, I would be happy with an observed phenomenon.
Right on. Exactly, Arwin.
I-
Let's see something happening. You say it holds the gas to a ball. What, in a presupposed sky vacuum we're not experiencing in violation of the second law of thermodynamics? I think not. Let's move on.
John, you want an observed phenomenon? I dropped my helium balloon. There you go. What? That's not
Well,
good.
if we're talking, sorry,
Yeah, right.
sorry, Chocolate. I thought you were finished. If we're talking about like gravity, as in a broad term, it's not correct. For specific gravity, yes, I could prove that there are claims concerning that in an experiment, science experiment, because that's all based around the density of the medium and the density of the objects or substances that's in it. So yes, because that is relative density. Yes, I can prove specific gravity with scientific
Get
method.
away with
But
that.
isn't
Whoa,
the gravity
everyone
still
stop.
in
Hold
specific
on.
gravity?
Hold on. Blatant bait and switch before our very eyes just because it's from one of our own. So you can't say, yes, I can prove gravity. Yes, I can prove elephants. You can prove elephants. Yeah. Check out all these giraffes, is what Brian's just done. No. If it's all about, I quote, all about the density of the medium, then that's showing densities of mediums as opposed to gravity? What are you babbling about?
I said specific gravity, which is one of the 4 gravities.
Oh, I see. A bit like saying I can show terrestrial refraction. I mean, it's got absolutely nothing to do with light traversing 2 different mediums and everything to do with an R-based 7/6R value in the case of standard refraction. But I'll use that word because it's also got refraction in it. So because this word's got gravity in it, somehow you're going to infer that specific gravity is actually gravity when it's relative density disequilibrium in this instance.
But doesn't it also
Well,
have
yeah.
gravity within the formula?
Oh, and he
actually?
was conceding. Oh my god. So go ahead, Brian.
Well, yes, that's exactly what was going to happen. Yeah.
So it's an
Well, if I can do
equivocation.
that with unicorns.
So it's a equivocation then. It's just an equivocation fallacy.
Well, no, because it is called specific gravity. So the word gravity is in there. So it's specific gravity. That's what it is. So, I can prove that in a science experiment.
Oh, no, okay.
But it has nothing to do with a force of attraction between masses, nothing to do with bending space-time, and nothing to do with quantum gravitation.
No, okay. I don't know why I'm objecting this so much. In the same way as, you can call something else that isn't necessarily the thing it is. Now, I'm not sure if this example is true, but it's the first one that popped into my head. Like wheatgrass. Yeah? Now, it's a mashed together word that means a specific thing that isn't wheat and isn't grass. Now, you might say, well, it's subcategorized as a wheat or it's subcategorized as a grass. Yeah, but it isn't wheat and it isn't grass. It's wheatgrass, right? Well, in that instance, I will accept that if you say, well, no, we actually call that gooples. Those are gooples. And I go, well, okay, you're just giving me a new name for that. But you're saying specifically gooples in this instance is that. Now, I'd ordinarily have no problem, other than the fact that by way of equivocation, gravity is going to mean multiple different things in this scenario, because specific gravity, Einsteinian gravity, Newtonian gravity, mass attracting mass, bending 4th dimensional space-time, relative density disequilibrium, if I could wrap my tongue around it, they're all different things. So when you say gravity attached to it, if it was any other word, I don't care what you call relative density disequilibrium. Frankly, I'd like a better word because it's a bit of a mouthful. But as soon as you say, well, let's call it gravity. And no, because we've already got 2 of them. Well, let's call it specific gravity. Why call it Why call it gravity at all? Would be my next question, Brian.
Because they want it.
It's just a
They want it to be gravity. I just looked it up, by the way, and
My next
there is no
question-
gravity
We realise
actually
that-
in any formula.
We realise that Brian actually did have this as a topic prior to you looking it up just now, Arwin. I mean, thank you and all, but go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I understand your position. There's already quantum gravity or quantum gravitation. You have that's on the way. We have the current bending of space-time, general relativity, and then we have the old and busted force of gravitation, force of attraction between masses. So there's 4 gravities because there's also specific gravity. So yeah, I mean, I'm just saying from a nitpicking point of view, I could prove specific gravity, but the other 3, not a hope.
Oh, I can do
In a
this.
science
Hold on.
experiment.
I can do this. Check this out, right? Since entropy is one of the unicorn horns, I can prove that unicorns have horns.
What you got, Arwin? Do you want to read it out?
Yeah, I stand corrected. There is a G in the formula, although barely. So the gravity divided by the gravity. So there is a little G in there. Oh, because the motion is still because of gravitational acceleration, according to this. But
Yeah,
that's what I thought
that's
originally.
the thing, isn't it? Even without them doing it, though. I mean, thank you for looking it up, and I appreciate what you're saying. But regardless of whether or not it's included, there's still going to be their necessity to weasel in the 9.8 meters per second squared, right? In other words, no matter which way you dice it in this instance, for the benefit of heliocentrism, they're going to have gas go down, go boom, boom. And it don't matter if it's a force that's not a force that you can think of as a force that's bending space-time doing it, or if it's a mass attracting mass taught to kids that is going to be untaught to them when they get to university. So long as we're all under the apprehension that there's a solution for the gas not escaping into space, who cares what we ascribe to it? If it's a real force with a real vector, we'll ascribe that to it. We'll just label it gravity because then everyone will remember their childhood education, meaning that it holds the gas on Earth.
Nathan, in Master D, I've got 4 pictures of the center of gravity.
Okay, let's have a little look.
Right.
Right at the bottom,
But if
right?
I can feed,
Hold on,
if
one
I
second.
can round
One
out
sec.
about the specific gravity before you present that, then I mean, it's just like with the Cavendish to me. It's like they're not real. It's not about gravity, but they put it in there. They have to put it in there, right? Oh yeah, they're just pre-assuming gravity and then weighing the density of Earth that doesn't actually prove gravity. But it's about gravity, right? Everybody knows that proves gravity, even though it doesn't. And so they put it into the specific gravity for the same reason. It's just like, oh, this is gravity, right? No, it's not actually gravity. But they put it in there still. It's like, yeah, but the gravity is the thing that makes things move, though, for somehow.
Okay, I've got your first slide up, 10th. Center of gravity.
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, they can call it anything they want. They use a human being, and they're trying to say the center of gravity of a human being is these points in these images. If you go to the next slide, it actually defines it. The point where all forces acting on the body equals 0. So here they are trying to say, well, John's question was again, John, can you repeat your question about gravity? You remember that one?
Oh yeah, I'd be happy with an observed phenomenon at this point.
Right. So they took something that is not observed, it's not a phenomenon, and then they said, well, it's here where all the forces, the one that we don't observe, would be acting on your body, and it would equal 0 if it was there. And then you got the third slide with NASA showing it on different objects. One looks like a protractor. Then the other 4 are there. It's obvious. They find the center. And then the last slide, center of gravity. So the center of gravity, how about just the center? You still haven't proven gravity.
Well, yeah, but in the same way that if I say that entropy is caused by unicorn horns, right? and because that unicorn horns cause time to move forward, and T is part of the equation for entropy, then therefore unicorns are real. Like the G is
Right.
only a local acceleration, which Anthony has already scientifically shown not to be a downward acceleration.
Well, you missed the fourth slide. It shows the line of gravity and it's pointing down. So you got center of gravity, line of gravity, and then we got an egg and helium balloon debunking them both.
I think Brian was just doing his best George Musa impersonation and saying, I can scientifically validate relative density disequilibrium, but you can think of it as though it's gravity. Just put the word specific in front of it and everything's great. And Bob's your uncle.
Right. I think that's the purpose of educating the children with the idea of the force pulling everything down, because then when it's postulated further down the line with an equivocation and relative disequilibrium being the instance in this case, your brain will automatically go to the idea that that's a description of the force that holds everything down on Earth as a sphere, because that's what you were told as a child. Now, as we've said many times before, it's not till you get to the higher educations that they say, oh, no, that's not the case. It's most definitely not a force. It's the bending fourth dimensional medium of space-time invented by Einstein.
Yep.
Right, but I've never heard gravity in my life described as a local acceleration. It's
Yeah, we're in the weeds now, aren't we, Brian? John?
I wonder sometimes though whether Einstein was thrown in there just because they were sick of the inquiries, right, about mass attracting mass, because it does just throw the whole thing in the garbage bin. It really does. It's like, oh, that just draws you into a completely new field outside of physics. So the claim of gravity technically no longer is within physics, it's within math now. And so that way they can just tell everybody to F off. Like, yeah, that's not force. It's math. Just go to the math teacher. Don't bother me with this anymore.
Did someone want to say something from Discord? I can just hear wind noise from you guys.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What's the fundamental difference between Einsteinian and Newtonian gravity?
The fourth dimension. One's Euclidean. Just pop yourself on mute. It's just you're overtaking us with wind noise AI. One's. I know you're asking me to lead you, and I will, and I'll pass back to you. It's just the wind noise. One's Euclidean three-dimensional, and the other's pseudo-Riemannian fourth-dimensional. That's the difference between the two.
Right, but that's not a fundamental difference. The primary fundamental difference is the causal power. Because Einsteinian, right, mechanism for motion requires motion in the first instance to be present already, because it's the movement of things through space-time and the displacement of the space-time as they move through it that causes them to then move. So you already need everything in motion. In Newtonian, two objects placed at a distance from each other, based on virtue of their mass alone, would cause the other to begin moving.
Okay. Okay, or to
Well,
summarise.
there's actually more than that.
Well, no, yeah, but let me just summarise what he's just suggested. He's done a detailed job. I want to summarise it, which is to say that one is the mass attracting mass of Newtonian gravity, and the other is the bending fourth dimensional space-time. His overarching point being that one requires there to be motion at all times for there to be a calculation. The other has the motion caused within the description of the mass attracting the other mass. Not that happens. Thank you. Go ahead, Brian. Thank you, AI.
Well, the fact that there isn't the accounting for in the Einstein's field equations for more than one mass, more than one mass. That means there is no mass attracting mass, so weight is not part of his general relativity. But there's also, he has C in there, which is the two-way speed of light calculation, which confines everything to that rate. Nothing within general relativity can move faster than that. Whereas in Newtonian, it's an instantaneous action at a distance. And there is that is for me, that is the real defining. Well, those 2 points are the 2 defining points. Because whatever else you would say about motion or about because in Einstein is really vague about that. He kind of talks about it's relative and frames of reference and blah blah blah. You know what I mean? It's nonsense where he goes with it. But in the end of the day, there is no weight accounted for because there's no mass attracting mass, and everything is confined to the two-way space-light calculation. Whereas Newtonian, which isn't really Newtonian, it's mass attracting mass instantaneously at a distance. There is no confinement of rate.
Okay, that was a couple of housekeeping questions. And in case you haven't figured out already, that's why we only have a couple of housekeeping questions now, as opposed to the full shebang every single one, because we get to about the 55-minute mark and we've only done that. So there we go. That's why. I don't want my GoFundMe campaign. Where's the? Oh, I've lost the tab. Talk about yourselves for a couple of minutes. I've lost my tab for my video that we're going to cover with that Cody guy. Hopefully, I can find it on here somewhere.
Well, as long as these gravitational equations aren't reliant on an R value within them, I'm fine with it. As long as there's not a big fat R to.
Okay, bro. You came to the crux of the issue. When someone says, "Is there any scientific evidence of gravity?" There's a denotative sense, which somebody says there's 5 denotation common language, but there's one specific connotation which you just elucidated, and that is that when you say gravity, what the common hears is the Earth is a ball is the cause of gravity. That's what they hear. That's what they see in their mind. That's why Globers bring it up, because quite frankly, every permutation of gravity works just fine if the Earth is flat. A lot of people don't know that mathematically you can work it out and the Earth be flat. It's fine. Gravity is neither here nor there. The problem is that they think that spheres floating in space are required for the claim of gravity to function on a local level, because it's not that things go down, it's that things go inward towards a ball. That's the claim that's attached to gravity.
I see. I hadn't thought about it that way, because that kind of answers the question, not that I was asking it. Why did Vsauce poison the well by asserting that on a Flat Earth Society pizza pie, pancake, whatever, that gravity would increase, I think, or something like that, as you reach the outside edges of the pie? Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like 2000, I'm going to say 14, that Vsauce did that video.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Now, I can explain that to you very simply. The reason why they use the flat pizza pie in their example to tell you that if you move away from the center, you have to be standing diagonal, is because they require that straw man to get you off the fact that they're just giving you one example of a permutation of the structure. There are various other permutations of the substructure of a flat Earth that would result in the same equivalent field lines that we experience as up and down. Okay, there's actually papers written about it by people who believe in a globe that demonstrate mathematically that you can have the same field lines, which is essentially, parallel up and down lines, quote unquote, that work just fine if the Earth is flat. For example, a cylinder Earth, or a inverse pyramid Earth, or an Earth with a large density substructure very far down that results in parallel quote unquote gravity rays, just like they claim the sun does with parallel light rays. So there's many permutations of the Earth being flat that work just fine with whatever math of gravity you want to choose. The problem is that they have a predisposition that spheres floating in space is the cause of gravity. That's their connotation that they want you to believe.
I gotcha. So why are you
Exactly.
saying the mathematics of a concept, or even if it's equivocated with something that it isn't and just called specific gravity, for instance, it doesn't necessarily rely upon the notion of Earth being a sphere in order to postulate, even mathematically? Well, I did not know that. Isn't that interesting?
But we must look at the origins of the claim of gravity. And the origins of the thoughts of gravitation starts actually with Kepler and his analemma. It starts with him, and he was postulating about what forces cause all the planets to move around the sun. And then Newton was very interested in his work, obviously afterwards, because Newton came after Kepler his time. And Newton, it was Kepler's analemma and Kepler's ideas that Newton, that helped with also with the story about the apple falling on Newton's head, that brought Newton to some of his speculations. Now, I'm not claiming that Isaac Newton said there was a magic force, because he said he didn't want to be labeled with that. But the point is that it starts with the pre-assumption of a sphere Earth and other sphere planets going around a spherical sun, center of mass, whatever. So, so it starts with that. So that is the Kepler's analemma is actually the starting point of all themes of gravitation.
Any other comments on this?
Wow, I never knew that.
I didn't know that either.
So
Well,
are you
we call it
saying
mind bending
So are
gravity.
you saying the
Content.
Yeah, I
yeah?
said,
So are
why
you
don't we
saying
call
the
it
core
mind
of the
bending
argument
gravity?
is no longer the apple falling on his head?
Yeah, we could.
No, it's not.
I didn't catch either of that.
Yeah, there's a guy from Discord who wants to get something in. Go ahead, whoever it was.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Rob, go ahead.
Yeah, I said, why don't we just call it mind bending gravity? Because it's what it does. That's just what it was.
Dude, you're not that far off. I don't have the time to do it right now, but I can actually prove that the cause of all is will, which is a function of the mind.
Now
Cliche.
now
Is
we're
that
all
a
intrigued.
natural phenomenon, though?
Go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
I'm saying I would get behind that because gravity, you must first will it in your own mind. You must first believe it in your own mind for it to then warp your view of reality. It warps your view after you've accepted it. And then you end up making claims. Come on, AI.
That's not a scientific theory, then.
I'm speaking, yeah, but I'm speaking in regards to the prime mover argument, right? Because remember I said earlier that the fundamental difference between the two gravities is the first motion, right? So you need motion in the first instance for anything to function. That's the definition of force. It's like, which came first, the motion or the force? You need something transcendent to set the first motion, right? Which is the prime mover, which is one of the classical arguments for theism.
Well, in the heliocentric model, the first motion, if you want to call it the first motion, would have been gravitational accretion, which is a force of attraction.
But no, the first motion would have been the Big Bang.
Yep, that's the origin.
That's what I was thinking.
Isn't this the same thing that's...
Yeah, but we're talking heliocentrism.
Someone had a question.
The motion.
Hold on, Brian. Someone had a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, overload. Isn't that the same sort of conclusion that Dr. John Dee came to in his presentations?
Maybe. I'm not aware. I'm only aware of him in regards to his laser experiments.
I think he was doing presentations with Karen B, or at least he started the first set of it, and they were discussing. I'm not sure if it was force or energy, like the origins of it, and his conclusion was that that's energy, and his conclusion basically was that it's will, it's movement, right?
Yeah, the conclusion was there's got to be an instigator. It's reminiscent of the, who is it? I can't remember who it was that made the letter. It was Newton himself. In terms of Newton's description of the being some first instigator of the action, when he's decrying gravity being like a self-fulfilling agent. And he's like, there's got to be someone to start the process off, like an external agent that starts it off. And that's kind of a similar conclusion to what John Dee drew at the end of his decrying energies, and he used examples like waves and various other things to make his examples. It was a great series of videos, but from memory, it wasn't actually narrated at all. So for whatever reason, Karen, I don't want to even speculate why that relationship fell apart, but she stopped doing his narration, and those videos were put out just, as essentially silent videos, which was a bit of a shame. But you obviously, as I did, sat and read through them all. Well, you must have done, because you know the context.
Well, she stopped doing it because of the arrogance.
I don't care.
And,
I don't care. Don't care.
I just said I thought you didn't know. I just thought I said
No, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It would be nice for it to have been narrated. That's unless it's a comment regarding that, because it just helps the information. But other than that, in terms of the relationship and why it wasn't narrated for that particular video, I might be wrong. Maybe it was narrated. Let's pretend it was. Anyway, is there anything more on this subject, or AI more specifically? Did you want to expand any further on your point, as it's yours?
But yeah, I mean that's one of the problems that many physicists face when they go down and backwards to the fundamental underpinning of their claims. Is they all have that problem of first motion. It's gotten so bad that the new hotness is to abandon the Big Bang altogether and just assume that the universe, right, is like eternally existent in a post Big Bang state, or the post-inflation universe, or steady state universe, right? So the universe itself is eternal, which has its own philosophical problems, because you still need a way to rationalize an infinite chain of regression for causation. It's like if you have a scientific apparatus that needs precedent causation, right, for motion, and then you just hand wave it away and say, well, the cause for this motion is just a prior motion, a prior motion, a prior motion, ad infinitum into the past, then you end up with a quandary. Well, how does physical things move in the first place at all?
They were always moving to begin with.
Which is what gravity
infinite regress
is.
fallacy. Yes, indeed.
Correct. And gravity,
still need a
gravity
beginning, though, right?
in a sense, is
Yeah.
ultimately.
Hold on,
gravity in
Neil's
a
just
sense
catching up. Hold on,
ultimately
AI.
just
Yes,
express-
yes. You
Go ahead.
ultimately always are going to need the beginning of it. So if you just, as Quantum Eraser phrase it, kick the can down the road, then you're never achieving that, Neil. Yes, that's correct. Go ahead, AI.
Yeah, it's akin to Richard Dawkins when he was put in a corner about the evidence of intelligent design here on Earth. He said, "Oh, I would agree that things on Earth could be intelligently designed, but only by a race of aliens that themselves evolved, through naturalistic processes on a different planet." It's like, well, dude, what about them? You just kicked it one can down the road, and then when you go to that planet, you find intelligent design, and then you got to go backwards ad infinitum. But I think the fundamental premise that when you're thinking about gravity is really all the phenomenon that's titled gravity is just things appearing to move in free space when they're unsupported. Like you unsupport something, you restrict it, or you unrestrict it from motion, right? It might go up, it might go down. It might stay in its general location for a while, then go up or down. Like that's the phenomenon we're all dealing with, which does have motion and in some instances does have acceleration. And from that, everything else is interpreted. But that being said, what we all experience is generally up and down. And if everybody everywhere experiences up and down, plumb and level, right, that proves the Earth's flat. It takes another leap to then wrap that flat matrix of plumb and level around a floating space ball that you assume is the cause of gravity. Basically, their claim is, what's the cause of gravity? No matter what they say, ultimately the cause is spheres. So when you hear anything that comes out of their mouth, what they're saying is the cause of gravity is floating space spheres.
Wow.
Cool.
Which is crazy, because didn't gravity create these floating space spheres?
That's
So
what I
it's like
thought.
they're so backwards. It's
No,
ridiculous.
they create each other. Gravity creates the space
Oh,
spheres. The
yeah.
space spheres create gravity. Are you finally
Gravity
getting it
creates the
now?
Hold
force
on.
of
Let me
gravity.
just
Yeah,
let me just hold on.
I've
Hold
been
on.
trying to argue this as
Owen.
Baldwin forever.
Just I just want to point out to AI what's happening. AI's just laid out the infinite regress fallacy for you, And now you're parroting back, well, that's an infinite regress fallacy. Yes, that's right, lads. You're picking up what he's putting down. That's good to hear. Well done, AI. Yes, beautifully illustrated.
Has any ever
You know, there's a
thought about
problem.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just 1 second.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. Have any ever given thought to Newton's? I know they're put by the wayside now, but Newton's laws of motion and how they relate to the claim of a mass attracting mass.
Well, they weren't right, so we can
Yeah,
go
but
on
how
this
do they
folly.
relate to the claim of mass attracts mass? If you think about them.
Just let us in on what you're going to, Brian, please. Please.
Well, if we look at these first, if the first one is an object in motion will stay in motion unless acted upon by a force. That's his first one, isn't it? If I'm correct.
God, don't make this painful, Brian. Keep going. Tell us.
Yeah, I'm just
tell us
trying
where
to
you, tell us where you're going.
I'm trying to get his exact. I'm trying to just using Google here to get his exact 3 laws of motion, and I don't want to start talking about them unless I have them in front of me. That's what it is.
Well, do you want to save this?
Amongst yourselves.
I was going to say, rather than talking amongst ourselves, do you want to keep this under your belt for now, and we'll move on to covering the Cody guy.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless anybody else has got anything else, I don't want this to be left lingering. If someone else
I could quickly bring that in. It's the first one is an object at rest, stays at rest until acted upon by an outside force. That's a self-evident concession that the static universe required an external agent to impute motion.
Can I come on the back of that? I've actually brought this up to Glovers before. You know, for something to change its state, and if you understand, I guess you guys know what state is. Like let's say the beginning, the singularity, as you call it. There's several problems. Either something intrinsic in itself had to change, or something exterior to itself had to change to cause it to change its state. Right. So if it's intrinsic, that means itself caused itself to expand. But that makes logical no sense, because how can something inanimate choose to do something or to choose to change its state? So that's why I agree with AI. There's that initial will that's exterior, even within their own paradigm, that had to change the state of the singularity.
Just stop,
Now,
1 second.
The second thing is,
well, before you go on,
what's that?
Well, I don't know if you've intentionally done this, but what you've inadvertently done, maybe, or maybe it's intentional, is detailed the ontological primitives, right? So I don't know if it's your point, and I don't know if you intentionally took it there. Would you like to detail the ontological primitives, because they are directly what you've just said, basically? So.
Well, either nature brought itself into existence or something else did outside of itself.
Right,
I mean,
an
that's the way I
external
would
force.
phrase it.
Exactly. So we've got either one of
Right.
two choices. Either there's an external force, an external agent to what we experience, or it poofed itself into existence by its own volition. Nature either created itself, or there's an external agent. Those
Well,
are
how
the
could
ontological.
that
And
happen?
here's another. Right. Well, that's part of the question. How could that happen? Now, the second problem, there's another problem with their own paradigm that the people don't stop to think about. They say this is an infinite amount of energy. Okay. First of all, what is energy? It's the ability to do work, right? And it's usually force over distance. Like if you move something over a distance. Well, how can you have energy in their own paradigm if there's no space or time to have energy in? Because you got to have space and time to even have energy. So when you say it's a hot, dense mass of energy, but their own paradigm says space, matter, and time came into being at the Big Bang. So how can you even have energy in the initial singularity? Because there's no space or time to even have that in their own paradigm.
Can I just make one
So
quick
even-
summary, which is that in case anybody hasn't picked up on the general theme of how this is going, what we're basically saying, if you're asking yourself this question, why is it that we've gone from a question about scientific validity for gravity to the ontological primitives? That's the beginning of everything, the beginning of the known existence, and the question about how it all began, or the Big Bang. How is it they've gone from one to the other? Well, in case you hadn't picked up on this already, the God of the heliocentric world, the arbiter of existence in its entirety, is gravity. It essentially is the God. It's the creator. It's the thing that created everything. That's essentially what is your origin god. Gravity.
Well, let's talk about that, Nathan. What do you have to have in the heliocentric model to have gravity? What do you got to have?
Well, AI already beautifully covered this, so maybe direct it to him because it was his point.
Well, I would be. He's talking about motion, but there's another key component. It's a mass. You got to have a mass. Without mass, you can't have gravity. But you run into the same problem again.
That's got
no.
Hold on, Paul. That comes with its own problems, though, doesn't it? What's mass?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, no, wait. Before you even go there, to have mass, you got to have space and time again. So how can you? So if gravity created itself, that you mean you had to have mass to begin with, and that's why they do say it's an infinite mass.
Well,
that's why they say that.
Well, no, in pseudo fourth space, no, they've split that up into a cause and effect relationship. So the uneven distribution of the mass, whatever that is, causes the bending of the space and time, and that's gravity. So they've split it up. You're saying it's one that needs the other, but it's not. One causes the other in fourth dimensional space time, aka gravity.
I do agree with Paul. I do agree with Paul, but it would be just as nonsensical for me to say, for you to have splaf blah blah blah, you need space and time.
Exactly.
Wouldn't it be necessary to define what splaf blah 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 is?
Yeah.
It all comes back to
In other words, maybe what Paul's saying. Sorry, Brian, real quick. Maybe what he's saying is, in order for them to have the concept of gravity, they need the concepts of space and time. There you go.
Yeah, what I was going to say is it all comes back to the first law of thermodynamics. Neither matter nor energy can be created or destroyed. But what they don't add in there, because it's implicit, if you understand it, is by nature. Nature cannot create or destroy matter nor energy, which means the matter and energy had to have come from a source outside of nature, and so obviously did nature.
There you go.
Yeah.
Again, repeat that, please, Brian, because you've just given the summary to the entirety of the discussion, which means we can actually move on. In other words, you've answered the ontological primitives. Do you just want to repeat that? Because people might not... You said it too quickly. People might not realise the significance of what you've just said. Please, can you repeat it?
Okay, I'll go a bit slower. The first law of thermodynamics states that neither matter nor energy can be created or destroyed. What they don't add in at the end of that, because it's implicit, if you understand it, is the term by nature, which means that neither matter nor energy can be created or destroyed by nature, which means that matter and energy, and also by proxy nature, have to have been created by an external being force.
Or to put it another way, whether you like the terminology or not, therefore there is a God. External creator, external entity beyond, above, supernatural, if you will, above what we experience. Yeah, for there to be something creating us that is beyond us in what we experience as physicality, that's what could be colloquially described as God. So, AKA, there is a God.
Well, let me
Amos Keaton said it says that nothing was created by him. Everything was created by him and for him.
Let's not get all preachy and religious.
It debunks the heliocentrism. It debunks heliocentrism completely.
Exactly. You've debunked the origin story of their answer to the ontological primitives, which, once you get past them kicking the can down the road with an infinite regress fallacy, you get onto them violating the first law of thermodynamics, which is, how do they say energy and matter was created? Well, they violate the first law. Well, energy and matter created itself. What, when it can't do that? They're leaving you with only one option in the ontological primitives. It's a true dichotomy. You can only have one outcome. So what does that mean if you cannot have nature creating itself? You have to have the external entity creating it. There is no other option.
Right. Well, when they go to the eternal universe as the way to try to get around it, then they contradict the second law of thermodynamics.
Do you want to expand on that? Boom, boom.
Because
so we know that.
Hold on, AI. Hold on one second. Hold on. Go ahead, John.
Go ahead.
I wasn't being. I
Right,
wasn't just
so-
using it for the pun opportunity when I said, "Can you expand on it?" I did actually mean it.
Oh, okay. Well, what I'm saying is, for an infinite universe, that like they want when you show that it had to have a beginning, or if it had a beginning, it had to have an outside agent acting upon it. Then they'll go to saying that it's always existed in order to try as a get around. But that's opposite of entropy. You know, the entropy is shown that is ever increasing. So there had to be a point of lowest entropy, and that would be the beginning.
Yeah, I don't that excuse of it's always existed, that doesn't get around the first law of thermodynamics.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Because neither matter nor energy can be created or destroyed by nature. So it can't always exist. It can't have always existed. It had to have been created. Nothing exists.
No, no.
Well,
Hold on, let me just
no
rephrase that.
world has been created.
No. Just to rephrase what Brian said, it just didn't sit nicely with me. No, ipso facto, we do have matter and energy. You know, it's not something you need to justify after the fact, Brian. No, we do have it, and the question is, where did it come from? And we know it can't create itself, leaving us with only one option.
So how come they ignore this then? I don't understand that. How do heliocentrists
whoa.
ignore everything that's been said just now?
Neil, my friend. Not only have they not ignored it, they've instituted an apparatus on a societal level to confuse everyone about this topic, beginning all the way back in the Catholic Church, in all the Jesuit order, in all of these things where they posited these ideas in the first place, to push a synthesis paradigm upon the masses, to confuse them about the first motion, so that they can arrive at a subjective reality that excludes an external agent, where the reality itself is self-caused and an internal loop, where we, the subjects, are the creator while simultaneously being the creation. Okay? Neil, they didn't disregard it. They did all this on purpose.
Deliberate. Okay.
What does that? Well, there's a further to.
It
Further
must
to
be
all of that.
avoided at all costs.
Well, but further to that, if you have that structure taken away from the glory or whatever you want to describe the external creator as, what can you then empower your common man with? If you've got that idea that we are, as just described by AI, as gods, then certain people are more equal than other people, aren't they? In other words, it's about power. It's about control over your other man. Because some people are more closer to God, whatever. Well, no, not if we are gods. If we are just whizzing around on a tiny little speck of dust in an infinitely expanding universe and inconsequential, then, well, we must have an answer to this, and if we're the ultimate creator of it all, then we're the ultimate gods of it all too, aren't we? And that's what they want. Any more on this, or can we actually cover? I'm just going to do a quick plea to the people who are watching. So there's 100 people watching, which is great, wonderful. Please share the show. We've got about 10 minutes left on the live show normally. If we can get to maybe, I don't know, 120, 125 people watching live, we'll extend out the live show because we've had, although it wasn't all housekeeping, a fairly extensive discussion on gravity today. And I would like to cover the guy from yesterday, Cody's video. So please share the show.
So I can wrap it up.
I would like to say something.
Yeah, I knew that would be the case. So
show,
just before you all go again, I know you all got points that you want to summarise this with. I'm not moving on immediately. I'm saying I'd like to stay live to cover the video we intended to cover today after everyone's summed up, but only if we get to 120, maybe 125 people watching. Anyway, carry on, guys.
Can I get in?
Yeah, go.
Here's the crux. Here's the crux. If there is no God, then you become God, and if you become God, you determine your own reality. But if there is a God, he's the one that determines reality. And so you have to conform yourself to his reality, not you creating your own reality and conforming yourself to that, or making reality conform to you. So it really comes down to that. That's the reason. And I've actually heard atheists say that. They say, if there's no God, then I can do whatever I want. And that's why I don't want to believe in God. Because I can be sexually immoral, I can do whatever I want. Go ahead,
Yeah,
AI.
it's a question of It's a question of accountability, really.
On a side note, my daughter came up to me the other day and told me that she was a god. I was like, what do you mean you're a god? She says, I'm a Minecraft god. I've learned how to make windows.
Yeah. Windows allow you to see things clearly on the other side. But now that we understand the gravity of the situation of gravity and results to motion, we can move on.
Is that a hint to
What
actually
if
move on?
gravity is the molecules that hold us all together?
No, it's not a
How
force.
about that?
It doesn't hold things together. It's not a force. Okay, any more for any more? Who wants to summarize their points from this last 40 minutes?
I just want to say something real quick, please. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody.
Is that Gene or
I like
G
what
Rose?
AI. Huh?
Is that Gene?
I like what. Oh, Gene. Gene.
That's
first?
E-Rose.
He keeps confusing us because we're both from Texas.
Oh, I'm not.
Is that what it is? Y'all some Texas boys?
No, I'm not no Texas boy. Nah. But no, I like what AI said, and somebody else, I think Paul said. But now this is what an atheist has said to me. Not all atheists are bad people, malevolent, or crooks or whatever what people would assume they are because they don't believe in a deity or they're atheist. And he said that give us more credit that we can be good, selfless people that love and do everything else that a so-called religious person does without having to fear any accountability, like like the key word accountability or repercussions or ramifications from a higher power. We hold our own responsibility and know that we're just supposed to love humanity and love one another and treat each other like like we want to be treated. So I said, yeah, that's cool. I said that's fine and dandy, and I don't generalize like that. But at the end of the day, that is not going to be good enough.
Can I address that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to. But go ahead.
I love this. This is one of my favorite arguments. No one even on this panel is saying that you can't be a good person in this discussion, not by any stretch. The problem is, how do you ground goodness? Like, what is the good? As an atheist, you have nothing to ground it in, nothing other than your own subjective feelings or concerns or whatever. Hitler thought it was fine in his paradigm to exterminate people. That was his moral fabric. If there's no God, how can you say what Hitler did was wrong? How can you determine? You can't. So they have no place to ground it.
Right,
they have no place to go.
That aspect scares a lot of anti-flat earthers. So many of them, when they're an insignificant speck of dust existing only on a tiny dot in a vacuum, there's no real consequences to the things they do and mentally put in a closet. Well, the moment you're faced with the, in their case, awful truth that there may be some consequences, there may be someone effectively, to put it more dramatically, watching over you, so to speak. Yeah, that has implications that make you suddenly assess those skeletons. And more often than not, the skeletons in the closet are particularly terrifying. Now, I'm saying this with a smile because it's something I had to do, admittedly before Flat Earth, face your own demons, air your closet out of the skeletons and all that sort of stuff. I did it along with my wife, before I got married, and, sharing that with the one you love and all that sort of stuff. But the point is you face the things that are bad about yourself, and you kind of have to deal with them and accept them, rather than lock them away in a closet. Now, that's much easier to do if the world's a tiny little dot and doesn't really matter. But it makes a massive difference if you realise the implications of the ontological primitives. Suddenly you've got to assess these things in a very different way that you may have not even considered doing. It's inconsequential until that point.
Well, let me go a little bit deeper in this, Nathan, if you don't mind. If there's no purpose in existence, which means we're just a random speck of dust hurling through the universe, and we're here for an instant and then gone with no purpose. The purpose, in a sense, is the standard for which morality is based. you know, and it governs how you act and also how you act. Well, how you are in yourself, but also how you treat others. For example, I always use a tool, just a tool, like a person makes a tool like a screwdriver. I use a screwdriver as an example. Screwdriver is designed, its purpose is to turn a screw. Can it be used as a chisel, like a flathead screwdriver? Yes. But what you end up doing when you do that, when you go outside of its intended purpose, you actually break the tool and also can damage the thing you're trying to work on. Purpose determines how you react in the world. Now, the next question is, I'm going to stick to I don't want to go too religious, but I want to say this as a Christian. My purpose, if you go back to the very beginning, it says we are made in his image. Our purpose in life is to be image bearers of God. So that means we need to reflect the nature of God in the world. So that's our purpose. If you don't have that as a purpose in your life, then if you make anything you want as your purpose, like making money, you know, or doing whatever you want to do in that, then you're going to damage yourself and the world around you in the process.
I
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
good.
I'd like to say a comment.
Yeah, you can have the last word.
AI, are you done? Because
We're at,
well, I
111
thought AI
people.
was
If
before
we
me,
can get
so
100,
I'll let.
if we can get 9 more people watching, we'll extend the live show during your little spiel 10th. So make it good.
No pressure.
Okay, well, you said something that a speck on a blue dot, insignificant heliocentric model. So because of that, then you dovetail to what people think about their lives, and what if there's a creator? Maybe I should, go that route. Well, the way I see it is, if you're of the atheist version and you're a speck on a speck on a speck and your life is insignificant, then the world leaders like Mao and Stalin and Hitler and the rest of them, in the current situation, even now, where babies don't have a life unless you want them to, but then they can just dispose of you because they're the one who are your gods. Whereas if you do believe in a creator, then you seek him out. And does he have a redemption plan for you because of the thing called sin that separates man from God, from the Christian point of view, that is? So I would rather have a benevolent creator who knows my sinful state and has a way for me to become holy, and have that, versus thinking I'm a speck on a speck on a speck, I'm insignificant, and allow mankind who says, evolution, survival of the fittest, I'll just kill them all and design my own world. I don't like these people. So which one should you fear most? If you're going to fear mankind in evolution, well, guess what? We've already seen what that does, survival of the fittest. But a benevolent God who says, I have a way to redeem you, I think that's more attractive.
If I may,
If
Nathan,
it
I got
was
a
me,
pretty.
the
Oh, it's your
zeros.
turn.
Breaking up. You're breaking up.
Am I breaking?
Yeah.
Can you hear me
115
better
people
now?
watching. 116 people watching. Got 3 minutes. 3 more people. Might extend this live show. I've got my cameras. I've got my lights ready. Could go either way. Might better let you in.
Can you hear me better now?
Marginally. Go ahead.
Okay. This is a poem that when we were doing, my wife, she's administrator for home health and hospice, but we did this for a ceremony for all the people that transitioned. It's called The Dash. I don't know if anybody heard this, by Linda Ellis. It said, I read of a man who stood to speak at a funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning and to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth, and spoke of the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time they spent alive on earth, and now only those who love them know what that little time in line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love, and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. To be less quick to anger and show appreciation and more love to people in our lives like we've never loved before if we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about you during your time when you lived within the dash? I think that was simple. The children understood it, and like you said, was that 10th man? That in between time is so important. You can live it on the side of grace and of knowing that you have a creator that loves you and provide everything for you, and that as long as you depend on that power, you'll be protected and shielded against those Stalins and all them people. Or you can be that heliocentric person that, believes that you're a speck of dust on a blue marble and don't mean anything to some far distant universal karma or whatever, and allow these people who think they're gods and hate God control you, oppress you, and do away with you under tyrannical, control. So, I mean,
with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Fortunately, if you are amongst the 115 people watching live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you, though, to all of you who did smash the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. What I will do, though, before I round out this live show, is do a quick plug once again to my GoFundMe campaign, if I can find the damn thing. Where is it? Vanished right at the wrong moment. There it is. Okay, so this is my GoFundMe campaign. Massive shout out to all of you. Let's just see if anybody has actually supported it during the show. If they have, I'll shout you out. But I'll shout out the people who have supported it such far. So, Michael, the anonymous contributor, Matt, and Rebecca, thank you very much indeed for supporting my GoFundMe campaign to replace the amps that power the show. So, if you would like to support the campaign, make sure you do set the tip amount to 0, which is to say, add the amount that you want to contribute, and then slide the slider down to 0. They do take a chunk anyway, so don't need to give them a tip, in my opinion, obviously, unless you really, really want to. But if you can't afford to, or if you didn't want to necessarily contribute financially, then just click on the share button and share the GoFundMe campaign on Facebook or on Twitter. That does actually help, even if you don't necessarily contribute financially. So, massive thank you to all of you who have tuned in live once again. Just get my lights back on. And say once again, if you are watching, stay tuned if you're on an after show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
If everything was exactly perfect in it, but we did our best, to be honest.
What we could do, bro.
I was disappointed with my description of the second law of thermodynamics and why it can't be an infinite universe.
Hey, is Brian there?
Yes,
I
he
got
is.
a question.
Hello.
I was talking to Ruhif. And his whole thing was disregard the whole definition of horizontal. It doesn't mean parallel to the plane of the horizon. He said it's just all about.
Hold on, everyone's
perpendicular,
triggered
the
before you've
vertical.
even got to the end of your statement into the break. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'll summarise
And
because it's one of them.
I want to
They want to
suppress it.
react to
I
you
wanna
before you've got to the end. So I'm just going to summarise what you've said. Yes, he's saying horizontal isn't anything to do with the horizon. Yeah, carry on.
And so it was about a locality, and I was like, well, local is under your feet, but the horizon is extended at least 3 miles out in front of you, and so it's a direct reference away from your locality, and it's extended your locality. So this plane of the horizon doesn't exist. And so he was just like, what? The parallel horizontal plane of the horizon doesn't exist, and it's a problem with the definition. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll just concede that. That sounds absurd and crazy, but I'll just go on. But it was the fact that he said that when you raise an altitude and that the angle to a celestial doesn't change, that really chapped me. It really chaffed me. I felt like I've been riding it for a while. And so it's about the dip. I know you're an expert. I don't know.
I'm not an expert at celestial navigation, but I do understand the dip correction. See, there's 3 different things going on in there, right? I'm going to talk about the celestial thing at the end. The first thing is you're talking about the horizon out in front of you. All horizontals are parallel to the plane of the horizon. The horizon is the natural reference point for horizontal. Horizontal as an orientation exists due to the horizon. So we derive horizontal from the horizon. So horizontal is directly derived from the earth. Otherwise, there is no orientation to horizontal. Because what Real-Whiff wants is a situation where where he can claim a horizontal that has no orientation, that doesn't have to have an orientation to anything, it doesn't have to have any reference point on the earth. So it doesn't have to be referred to the earth. So he's claiming just a straight line in any orientation, and him calling that horizontal within his belief, because that's what he wants. The second thing is that there's kind of a mixing up thing going on. If you're looking out towards the horizon, then the horizon you're looking at, that's what you reference horizontal from. But the water underneath your boat, let's just say if you're using a sextant, the water underneath your boat, if you're using a sextant, right, has to be in a direct horizontal line with that horizon and on through that horizon to the GP point of the celestial body. Otherwise, the dip correction, also known as height of void correction, cannot work. And the reason it can't work is that is, as it's already stated, a correction for the height of the observer's eye above the water beneath their boat. That is the measurement that is taken at port. That is what's used. It's a constant. So the horizon will move further away from you and closer to you, depending on the weather, depending on the day, right? Because it's not a physical location. But it will always be in a horizontal with the water underneath your boat. That is proven by the height of void correction, because you can only correct for your height of your eye above the water underneath the boat. And if you're at sea for 3 weeks and you do 100 sightings, for each one of those 100 sightings, regardless of how far away the horizon is or how close it is to you, the correction will always be exactly the same. And what does that correction do? It creates a 90-degree right angle. That's the whole point of it. So Real-Whiff is talking out of his backside because he's trying to deny what the height of void correction is. See, what he needs to have happen is that the horizon that you're viewing from your boat is lower in elevation than the water underneath your boat. But that can't work because you only have the minutes and seconds of a correction for the height of your eye above the water underneath your boat. So if that's all you have to correct for, then how can you correct for that when what Real-Whiff is talking about would be a bigger correction or a double correction? There is no double correction, there is only one. Now, what he talks about when it comes to the celestial bodies, when you raise an elevation, so if you are, for instance, I'll use Polaris because it's the easiest example. So if you're in a boat at 45 degree latitude, and you take an angle to Polaris, your angle to Polaris will be 45 degrees because that's where we derive latitude from. If you're in an airplane flying directly above the 45th latitude, your angle to Polaris will still be 45 degrees, and the same at the equator, and any other latitude north of the equator. Because we don't know what the celestials are, right? They are a mystery to us, and this kills them in a way, because what he's trying to do is claim parallel light rays. That's where he's going to with this. Now, I'll leave you talking a sec. That's where he's going to with this. Oh, parallel light rays, right? But it kills them because there's a second factor that happens with the celestials, right? Not only will, regardless of your elevation from the same zenith, not only will that celestial give you the same exact angle at that same exact time, but when we see that celestial disappear, let's say at the horizon, as they do, right? They just disappear. They don't go down behind you. You can watch any video of this. They do not go down behind anything, right? They disappear at the horizon. When you raise an elevation, you will not bring that back. Now, if you're on a globe, that's what would have to happen. It doesn't happen because the celestials are not what we are told they are, what Ruhif believes they are. Right? The celestials are a wonder and a mystery. We don't know what they are, how they do what they do. We just know that they do what they do, and that's how these things work within celestial navigation. We don't have to know what they are or how far away they are. Whereas within their claim of a globe, when you raise an elevation, then that celestial body has to raise back up with you, because you're looking over the claimed obstruction to the celestial body. But if you can get a 0 degrees or latitude at the equator to Polaris from a boat, and you can get 0 degrees latitude from an airplane that's 6 miles above the boat to the same exact angle to Polaris, then where is the Earth curve that's in the way of the boat? It has nothing to do with Earth curve. The airplane is 6 miles up in elevation, in altitude. So where is the Earth curve getting in the way of the plane? How is the pilot getting a 0 degrees latitude to Polaris from the equator, and the boat getting a 0 degrees latitude to Polaris from the equator? How can they both get it if the reason that we were told that the boat was getting the 0 degrees latitude is because the observer's view was being blocked by Earth curve? So what he's trying to do is wrangle. Ruhif is in desperation mode at the moment. He's trying to wrangle things around. So don't allow him to confuse you, because that's what he wants to do, and get you to concede to shit. Sorry for the language. Get you to concede to stuff that you don't really concede to, because he's trying to give it to you in such a way where you don't really understand it. Now, I shut up.
Can I ask a question about that? Did he ever explain to you how he got an angle from a curved surface?
No, sir. He told me explicitly it was a tangent. He told me a tangent. I said tangent to what? It was. And I told him horizontal is geometrically incompatible on a globe, and he said that I just he brought up the definition of planet. Then after that, because I brought up the definition of what a horizontal is. So then it was a big semantical game.
Yeah, but he was trying to describe how you would get an angle to a curved surface, but that's not what you're talking about, is it? You're talking about angles.
Yeah, correct.
So,
and
wait.
That's why I was trying to tell him, like, you're like, I don't know where you're coming from, because there's no horizontal at your feet, like, because the horizontal is parallel with the plane of the horizon. It's well away from you, at least 3 miles. And
You gotta
yeah, but the horizontal
that's when he told me don't listen to the definitions of the words. And I asked him about that thing about, is there an observation of Polaris at 0 degrees latitude? Even though I know, like, but is there an observation of Polaris being obstructed at 0 degrees latitude, being unobstructed with increased elevation, peeking over that hill? And he told me, don't ask such questions.
Yeah,
and he told me
so
that
basically he's trying to dictate
raising
language to you, right?
Well, he said
Because
that
again,
raising in altitude is itself, that is the fact that the angle doesn't change is the proof of parallel rays.
Is he the same one that says about definitions of words?
yes, exactly the point, and which is what this guy, I don't know what your name is, but that's what you started with, right? He was basically telling you that horizontal doesn't mean what you think it means, basically. Like, you got to give props to a global like Luffy, right? He's one of those that'll put their tactics out there in front of people. by saying something like what we have on record of him saying that definitions of words are meaningless. I mean, that shows you the tactic right there. It's insane.
Yeah.
While using words.
What Real Hif,
Sorry,
what
Brian.
Real, one second. What Real Hif is trying to do, he's trying to tell you that the reason that the airplane gets the same angle to Polaris as the boat that's directly underneath it is because of parallel light rays. Completely avoiding the fact, and look, have no doubt. Hang on, here. Have no doubt. He is fully aware that the claimed reason that the boat is getting the angle to Polaris obstructed is because of Earth curve. So when he talks about parallel light rays, what he's trying to do is move away from the devastating point, which is Earth curve is not in the way of the pilot. It can't be. If we're on a globe, there's no way that Earth curve can be in the way of the pilot. There's no way the mariner at the boat can get a 0 degrees. Now, you can't, obviously, we all know you can't get an angle off a curved surface. I'm going to get to that in a second. But there's no way that mariner on the boat could have their view obstructed by Earth curve. And so they just get a 0 to Polaris. And 6 miles above them, someone else in a plane get a 0 to Polaris. No, because the reason that the mariner are supposed to be getting the 0 degrees is because the view is being blocked by Earth curve. That's 0 for the mariner. So when the pilot gets 0 flying directly over the mariner, where is the Earth curve in the way of that? What they're trying to do is move away from the devastating point, which is there is no Earth curve. And when he wants to talk about parallel light rays, when he wants to bring parallel light rays into it, he's begging the question. Something else that's debunked by the bad moon shadow, because it proves there is no proof for parallel light rays. But when he said a tangent, as soon as they say tangent, what they're talking about is a tangent that the center of the tangent will be directly underneath our boat. That is an admission, an absolute admission, that this process cannot take place on a globe, on the surface of a globe, because he's admitting that the tangent is required, which will be a horizontal straight line. He's admitting that they require that tangent to do this process. And that tangent will extend from the boat all the way to the GP point of the celestial body. So they're admitting, when they say tangent, that this process cannot be done on the surface of a globe, which means that we cannot live on a globe because this process takes place on the surface of Earth.
Very well
he's
said,
trying to just,
exactly.
it's a lot of nonsense he's up there.
Exactly.
Exactly
But
correct.
it sounds like
I
he's
don't
convoluted the
understand.
words to and from immediately. Like, because you can get
Purposely,
an
yes.
angle to a curved surface, right? And that would use a
Yeah.
tangent. But if you're talking about a horizontal, you're not talking about a tangent anymore.
Yeah, but this is the same guy who was at times that said, well, we're not talking about the surface, right?
Right, you're not.
Yeah.
You're not,
but
you're not
they
talking
should.
about a globe surface. You're not talking about a globe surface.
Exactly.
While referring to the surface.
Yeah, not referring to the hill. Like they'll say it's the hill, but it's not a hill because three-dimensional surfaces are two-dimensional. And so that they can measure them linearly and then calculate them as hyperbolic because they have a faith-based belief in it. That's on the page 51 of their geodetics.
So the definitions of words are meaningless while using words.
Yeah, it's like
Exactly.
we're having discussion, and so we shouldn't define the terms that we're actually discussing and talking about.
Or if we are,
This
you
is
go by the definitions that I provide you. See, that this is something else that Globers do.
this is the problem. I'm on Instagram all day. Or DJ One Deck, homie knows, and all day long it's just people confused about what science is. They say theory, and they say science, and they say all these little buzzwords, but they have no idea. They say math a lot. They love math. They love to say the word math,
Tell them
having
to define
no
it.
idea. what any of these words mean. Yeah. And you know, I don't know, I was in modern day debate last night, even though David McQueen, he's a younger creationist versus cats. It's like I was just there for fun, and it's like, no, the dynamo effect. There's no IV cats. There's no independent variable, and in there's all these people disparaging this man who's actually a geologist. That's not even science, right? But he was a he believed like cats did, 30 years ago, until he wised up. And then now he's talking about young creation in this earth and just talking about polonium radio halos. And I know what kind of stuff devolves from that. But it was just amusing how nobody in the chat understood what science was, other than the like maybe 3 or 4 people that I recognized from chat from our group that actually know what science is. And so I'm like, hey, what's the IV? And I was having to tell them, hey, science is a method. We establish cause and effects by comprehensive observation and systematic experimentation. Pretty simple. And then they're like, the dynamo effect is science. And I was like, what's the IV? What's the independent variable? How did you resolve that? And I have to ask that like 20 times, and they just call me dumb and all kinds of ad homs because I'm just asking them simple, foundational questions of their science acumen. And I really can't express my appreciation for QE and Nathan, because and the question is always, why am I doing this? Why is the earth flat? Why do I care? Is because I'm trying to save people's lives. We're trying to save people's lives, and you can never forget that. Like, why are we doing this? Because we're trying to show people that you're being deceived at a very foundational level, which then disturbs your entire rest of your reality that you have from that foundation. And so if you think science is just knowledge, consensus knowledge, you're in a whole lot of trouble. If you know what science is, you're able to safeguard yourself. And this is why I call myself, I'm a science communicator. I communicate to people what science is. And I know
like
you,
that.
D Rose, this is our mission. We are science communicators. I'm a science communicator. I make sure people understand what I'm talking about. And I'll drag them around in the dirt all day long while they're calling me names. And I won't ad hom them and be so mean, but I'll be very matter of factly, and I'll be very snide, maybe, as you would say, like because I'm not ashamed, because I got truth on my side. I got actual objective reality and empiricism backing what I have to say. And it's so fascinating. These people don't have that. They don't have that, and they'll argue against me all day. And it's like, what is your mission? My mission, I'm trying to teach you something. And I think that the reason that you're talking to me, I think you're open enough so that you should be able to interpret these things. That's why I spend time to try to educate you. And sometimes it's lost on people. I think sometimes it gets down to people, but regardless, there's other people that view it. And I know for a fact, people will just see. I got like 4 or 5 followers the other day, and it's like I don't have any account that's focused on spreading, doing any memes or anything. I'm just down in the trenches. That's all I'm interested in doing. Actually doing it, like
Can I ask
Nathan.
you a
Like
question?
I look up to him.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think that you would get such resistance if the topic wasn't about heliocentrism? Like, if you were just sitting and talking with somebody about science and the scientific method, do you think you would get that resistance that you're describing?
Oh, I absolutely do, because I follow a lot of physics, like sort of, I follow a lot of science pages, and anytime they put up Newton or, you know, Einstein or anything, I'm always interjecting in there and having discussions with people. And it's like
Right,
getting new people involved, and they're like,
that's not
wow,
science.
you know, and it's like, yeah,
Well,
it's not.
yeah, right, but that's dealing with heliocentrism. I'm saying if you were like in a forum with a bunch of people that are doing quantum mechanics, right? And or they're learning about quantum mechanics, and you talked about these things, you think you would get the resistance? Not saying that the Earth is flat. Don't just talking about science and the scientific method. Talking about the independent variable, dependent variable, those terms. I don't think you would get that kind of resistance because they actually have science.
No, you're wrong, because I haven't met a single person in, like, I've been in, that's what I was saying, like, I'm in physics pages and stuff, like, where these people should know what science is, and they have no clue. Like, I'm literally in long discussions talking about geometry and, like, is a surface a 2D versus 3D shape, and
Yeah,
you
that's the
know, to
problem we're
me it's
having
just
today, right?
fun. But it all begat by, because they thought geometry was science, and they want to obfuscate it by talking about all kinds of other things. And it's a problem. Like, people have no idea what science.
I can kind of back you up there.
That's the most pivotal problem that I have.
Okay, that's
one of the.
That's all I wanted to know, is if you think it would be different if you were in a different
No, it's the
situation, but it
same.
seems like it's
No, it's
systemic.
the same. Nobody knows. Nobody has a clue what natural science is.
Well, this is what it is. I've mentioned this many times before, and it's the other abbreviation acronym for AI, not AI, our AI, artificial intelligence. It's the arrogant ignoramuses. An arrogant ignoramus is a person that you mention independent variable or IV, and they, that doesn't matter. You're a dum-dum. That's an arrogant ignoramus. They're too arrogant to say, no, what is that? Could you explain it? And learn so they can pay it forward. So instead, they'll be abrasive and do the ad homes instead of trying to build with you. And you just, I don't deal with those people. I block those people. Soon as they give me that
Trying to
reflection,
build with you.
I block them. I block them. It's about building. It's about
You block
you
them.
said
You
you're
spend all day with them.
Well,
Let me
they've already
back you up
blocked
a bit.
themselves. They've already blocked themselves by their response of calling me a name or saying that's some retarded, and you're an adult. I don't have time.
I'll try to help them.
See,
Because
I don't.
I know when that's an outcry. They're asking for help. When they call you a dum dum, they're saying, "Please help me." You don't think that they are. You think that they're disparaging you, but they're really asking for help.
I don't have
So
time.
just help them.
Let me give you an example.
I have a 6 and an 8-year-old, and I have nephews and nieces who are more absorbable, like sponges, who like to learn those things. I got time for no adult talking to me that way. When I mention something that they're not familiar with, not to degrade them or to belittle them, but to share something with them, and they respond that way, I don't have time for that. My other thing is, who's Matthew Learns? Because he dropped something on the main chat. I watched the video, and this guy, maybe you'll know who he is. He, he pretty much he just dropped the video in there of something that he did or somebody else did. I guess it was him that did the video. And he's up here giving all this love to QE and he got Chocolate quoted. He's got Eric DeBay quoted. Y'all got to look at the video. It's on the main chat.
What,
And
really?
Yeah. It's the argument. It's the argument. The name of it is the name of the thing is something about what flat Earths say and what heliocentric responds. So when you first watch the video, you would think he's paying homage to the flat Earth, proponents like
No, he's
Nathan,
not.
and they got difficult. But then he goes on the other side, and he starts to make claims to support the heliocentric in response to everything that he just showed was the claim of the flat earth proponent. So his name is Matthew Learns. I'm not sure,
Yeah, I
and I
was just
couldn't
talking
read
to
it.
Matthew last night. Anybody who's been on 24/7 knows who Matthew Learns is.
Yeah,
Okay.
Matthew Learns is a guy that will concede to a belief of his heliocentric system, right? He'll concede that he can't prove it, but he will continuously believe it. So he'll just spout out whatever the main rhetoric is, and use that as an example or argument, right?
And his key
He
sword
believes
is
it.
mathematics.
True believer.
Mathematics.
Hold on.
Mathematics.
What claims do we make? I'm interested to know that.
Well, I'm not going to go into that because I don't want to misquote, but just to say, go watch the video, and he's got voices of QE, voices
I got one.
of chocolate,
I got one of his claims.
voices. He's got the actual voices. Okay, this is quotes
Can I
written
do one of
down
his
with
claims
the
next?
personal pages. But let me tell you what's the more profound thing he said. You know that 1,000 miles per hour issue of the Earth spinning that they claim? Here in this mathematics, he broke it down to the reason why we don't feel it. First of all, he shows a video of someone inside of a vehicle, some type of aircraft or something, going
Yeah,
fast.
he's wrong.
And right, no. But then check this out. Then he throws up some math equation that says 1,000 miles per hour compared to the Earth's size would not be felt by a human being because it's actually only moving. And he breaks it down to like 1 foot per second or something.
1 degree.
Number he pulled out his rectum. Yeah, he
It's
pulled out his rectum.
15 degrees an hour.
Okay.
2015
Well,
stuff.
you break down 15 degrees an hour. You break down 15 degrees an hour. Then you say he broke it down by the second or that. And he said, that's why human beings don't feel it. Like in a condescending way. Like
he's talking absolute
It's just
rubbish.
momentum. Of course we don't feel it.
So he proved it by
That's
showing
true.
So let me get it straight. He's proving it by showing how we don't feel it. Wow, that sounds like a win.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just like the refraction, which is it looks flat. They say, oh, what is your blurf argument? Well, you're the same as your blurf argument. It looks flat, refraction, right?
Right. You know it's a ball because it looks so flat. We know we're
Yeah.
moving because we can't feel it, etc.
But I got him last night because I like to bring up because now it's like, oh, where does the sun go? It turns to night, and I'm like, oh, Obler's paradox, because it brings up a lot of convoluted theories afterwards, and so it came out. Matthew Learns doesn't even know why Obler's paradox isn't official. I put an Obler's paradox, Neil deGrasse Tyson, in the recent chat. I think we should go over that in a thing. I never wake up early enough for the actual thing, but I think it's pertinent that we should go over Obler's paradox. Obler's. I was told
We
from
we
Jim
don't need to go.
Pandas.
We don't need to go
I
over
need to
Matthew
speak
Learns,
it.
though. Right?
No,
Chocolate.
no. It's
Chocolate. Hold on. Chocolate. How many times in a row on 24/7 I drug that numpty dipshit around by a short hair? How many times? Is it in the high 500s?
Hey,
Huh?
QE, how do you say Obler's? Am I saying Obler's wrong by saying it Obler's?
Obler's. Sounds like a cookie.
Obler's, right? Like they were trying to format fallacy me, bro. They were trying to format fallacy, dismiss my whole argument, be saying like you need to like say it slower. And I'm like, no, Obler's paradox, like night debunks your globetard. It debunks it. You're done. Like there's a billion suns in the sky. Everything should be lit. But what they think is that the universe came from nothing and is expanding into nothing and sucking up all the light. So it turns to night.
Well, bro, they
But
still have yet to figure out
Learns said,
the people
no,
who
there's
supposedly
not
go out
infinite
there.
stars.
Sorry, man.
He's not listening, Chocolate.
Well, I heard that we made claims. I want to know about the claims we made. That's what I want to hear.
Well, the claims that we made was that Obler's paradox debunks night, and their claim is that the universe is expanding into nothing and sucking up all the light from your eyeballs.
You've got
That's
to,
the
you've,
speed of dark.
you've got to apply the law of Baller here, haven't you? So as Arwin said earlier, yeah, we know it's spinning because we don't feel it. And it's the same with the Oblers. We know the sky is made of trillions and quadrillions of lights because it's dark.
Yes, you're getting it.
That checks out.
And by the way, it's not Oblers, it's Olbers.
Olbers.
But hold on.
Tell me.
Hold on
Yeah,
a second.
that's what Jem was trying to teach me. How do you say it, Arwen?
Only a word.
Olbers.
Doesn't have a meaning.
Olbers.
I got that, but Olbers. You pronounce it for me because it's an American thing that American disconnect.
Oh, to mispronounce things? Yeah, I know.
Bro, Ober.
Obler.
Oh.
No, that's incorrect.
Why are you trying to confuse the guy?
Arwen, how do you
It's
say
Mr.
it?
Oobly Doobly's paradox.
Not relevant.
So basically, what they're
Somebody
saying.
has a citation. Holy shit. Adam, go ahead and read it. Let's read that out. We're going with Olbers, are we? Olbers' paradox, also known as the night sky paradox, is an argument in astrophysics and physical cosmology that says that the darkness of the night sky conflicts with the assumption of an infinite and eternal static universe. In the hypothetical case that the universe is static, homogeneous at large scale, and populated by an infinite number of stars, any line of sight from Earth must end at the surface of a star, and hence the night sky should be completely illuminated and very bright. This contradicts the observed darkness and non-uniformity of the night.
Uh-oh.
I remember that one.
Apologetics?
It's never
I
talked about
I
a
have a
lot.
question. Does anybody go outside and is it dark at night? Is it dark?
Yeah.
At
Yep,
night?
chocolate. That's the nighttime
Uh-oh.
debunks.
It's without
the
sun.
whole globe card.
I mean, the guys who supposedly claim that they go out into this place that doesn't actually exist, they still have yet to figure out between themselves whether it's the brightest brightness or the darkest blackness. So, like they got a lot to do.
But didn't Neil?
Black bodies.
But didn't Neil and the crew say there weren't no stars? I didn't see no stars. You saw any stars, bud? No, I didn't see no stars. They didn't see any stars.
Just like that, too.
Yeah, but they also
you
had...
have to give
Hold
John a nudge.
Hold on, just one sec. Just there's a contradiction that they also gave. They also navigated there with star charts
and a sextant.
And a sextant. Yes,
yeah,
that's correct. So while they couldn't see anything, because they were actually being grilled about what they could see from the surface of the moon, just to be clear.
Wow.
Yeah, supposedly I was told by a blurb that the person that said that they could see stars, that was them on their orbit on the dark side of the moon, and then of course the people on the moon couldn't see them. So because I was asking them about their continuity errors, why is one saying that they see stars and why is one not seeing stars? And they say, well, one
where was this taking
on
place?
the moon, and they're talking about in a thermodynamics violation, Neil. Of course, come on, keep up. We're in fantasy.
That was Pink Floyd, wasn't it?
We're just trying to get continuity for the story, as opposed to debate whether or not this is taking place in Narnia. We all appreciate Narnia, aka the sky vacuum isn't real. We're just trying to square the circle of their story in regards to the continuity error of the spacemen going there and both simultaneously seeing things being super bright and not seeing anything at all. There's conflictions within their story when they're sat next to each other.
I think one guy conflated both of them.
They didn't know. Yeah, they didn't know the story. Was the moral of the story. It was if you knew what was involved in heliocentrism, you wouldn't believe it. Hence why there's a lot of heliocentrism believers.
Okay, since you're talking about all this, how did they get there?
They didn't, Neil. They didn't go through the wardrobe, okay?
No, they took a
didn't
rocket there. What are you talking about?
If a little,
Chocolate.
It
hey
did-
Neil,
Chocolate.
if
Yeah,
a
and the
little
wardrobe
space,
blew up.
Chocolate.
if a
Bud
little,
said it never did. Bud said it didn't happen.
Yo.
Yo. Yeah, that was the Chris Hadfields.
Yeah, so I was just I was like, one of them said both of those things. I was trying to think about which one it was. Thank you. I'm gonna go look for that.
No, I already got it right here. Chris Hadfield,
Nice.
ISS commander from the ISS. The sky is almost white with the light of the universe, with the uncountable number of stars. You can't see the constellations because the sky is just so alive with stars. A couple weeks later, what you see is an immensely deep blackness. It's like a black with texture. It's a palpable blackness, not just a blackness, but a powerful blackness with a black velvetness.
Wow.
Wow, that doesn't seem contrasting at all.
Blickety black. Blickety black. Blickety blickety
I
blickety.
know. I know
And
why
then
they had a
Nick
sextant too.
NDT
If you
corrected
want
him.
to know.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, the sextant was for when they're in the ocean and they were able to, and they needed that to locate their position so they can be collected.
No, the video clearly states what you do with the sextant is you use the sextant as before, but instead of lining up with the horizon, you pick any point on the edge of the ball that you're looking at from space and then measure the angle from that to your star. That's how you do interstellar travel. I've got on screen, Nathan. I'll keep stopping it every 20 seconds, but it's Don Pettit and the guys talking about so they're about to be asked a question about stars.
It's Mike Massimino and Don Pettit. I got it. I got the transcript right here in front of me.
And you see stars.
Yeah. Do you want me to play it now?
Yes, please. Pop yourselves on mute.
I'm more wondering about the horizontal.
Or immediately talk. That's another option.
That's one way to go.
Pop yourselves on mute just while we hear this video. No
Are
sound.
you going to be hearing that?
Didn't hear anything.
No.
Now I feel bad for biting people's heads off, Adam.
Can I talk again?
Yes, you can.
issues. There we go. You
Oh,
ready?
no, okay.
Cameron, this is from Mark Cameron.
Whilst in space, have you ever looked away from Earth into the black void?
Whilst in space, you're not past first grade English.
Let's have some more.
Wild.
Yeah. So
yeah, all
because
the
you can
time.
see,
Yeah,
because you can see the stars.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and pretty much all the time you can see the stars.
It's not
which
a
is
black
cool thing.
void. I mean, it's black, but there's all kinds of little polka dots.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Polka dots. Polka dots.
polka dots. I mean, it's cute. It's fashionable. Everybody loves it.
Just see if we can get a bit more detail from the gentlemen that are blessed out of all humanity that have been there to witness this. If we can just get a bit more detail, yeah.
There's all the stars there, and the cool thing is about it, you can see it during the day.
Yeah, you can, and there's more than stars. You can see planets. You can
Right.
see moons.
You see the gas Magellan clouds of the
Yeah,
Milky
you
Way
see
galaxy.
the Magellanic Clouds.
Magellanic. See, I just wanted the Magellan
well, there's a large
clouds. I
one
didn't
and a
want to
small one, right?
Yeah.
And then you can see the zodiacal lights.
Whoa.
Those are.
Zodiacal light.
Are they stoned? Were they stoned? They sound like they just smoked a blunt.
No,
It
it's
was
just
more
Don
than that.
Pettit. He's just like that.
Wait, hold on. Day and night. Day and night in free space, there should be no concept of day and night for them.
Right.
My question to them was: Have you two bozos met Neil? The sky is the deep black Armstrong, or Chris Powerful Blackness Hadfield too?
I don't think they know each other.
The Hadfield number
Well,
two.
it's-
Yeah, I don't think they don't talk.
It's it's contradictory. They see the sunrise and sunset 16 times a day.
What did that have to do with the discussion?
Sure, they do.
What did that have to do with anything?
Well, they're claiming a nighttime.
Is
When
the
hell
right
would that
time?
be?
Is
No,
the nighttime the right time? Is that what they're claiming?
They said that during the nighttime,
The right time.
yeah, is the right time to see this palpable blackness full of stuff that's not, you can't see. You know, it's just nuts.
What is your conceptual continuity?
Are we done with these turkeys, or do you want
Ant-Man.
a few more seconds?
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to see him say zodiacal lights again.
Yeah,
I'll-
please do that
I'll
again. Do that
arrow
again.
backwards, QE.
The zodiacal light.
Whoa.
You can see the zodiacal light.
Whoa.
Those are amazing. Right
The
before
lights of the
sunrise.
zodiac?
The lights of
Zodiacal?
Yeah, but if you say it like that, makes it sound really cool, doesn't it?
The
You know what I think they
zodiacal
do?
lights. You just don't understand the zodiacal lights.
You know what I think they do? I think they roofie their drinks. They give them something to drink, refreshments in their water, and they put a roofie in it, a psychedelic something, and then they put them in a simulator of some kind or whatever, one of those zero gravity, and then they bug out.
No.
And they literally
No.
Probably.
Why is it that we all? Someone did this yesterday. I think it was Neil. Why is it that we're conjuring farcical explanations? We know they're not going to the place they say they're going, and we know they're on a soundstage on Highwire. Okay, so which is more probable? That they were put into a coma and then given a hallucinogen, and they had little mind probes that gave them a total recall of the events, and then they came and kind of a vague. They're just liars. The simplest explanation is true in this instance. They're just lying.
Of course, but that's how they cope. How they cope is go to Joe Rogan's show and get in his little deprivation tank and take DMT and just forget about the lie. And the lie is for the greater good, the greater cause, right? So that's why,
That's a different story.
50 years later.
I get what you're going. You're saying, right. So
Yeah,
if you were one of these liars, you might end up being like drunk Uncle Bob or whatever it's called, Buzz, right? You know, just become an alcoholic to cope with the stress. Yeah, probably. But the coping mechanisms thereafter aren't the reason that they've lied. They're just liars.
Yeah, they gave him the name Buzz.
Yeah, I could have given them a better lie to tell than this. They should have said that it was impossible for them to look out the windows because the radiation from space would have burned out their eyes, so they can't give any description of what they seen.
Yeah.
How do you use a sextant
Well,
then?
that goes back to
Well, see,
Ogler's
that's-
paradox about the white sky.
Look,
The white sky.
Adam's just come up with the problem to John's, and I just want to answer it on his behalf. Right, that sounds like a bit of a short distance high energy problem, Adam.
Well, no, what I was going to say, it's too late now. It's too late now because they've already told the lie. But the better lie would have been that they couldn't look out the windows that had burnt their eyes out.
I have a slight citation on that. Quote, the lander's limited battery power required the shutting down of its guidance computer. The astronauts also needed to use an onboard sextant to confirm their location by sighting in the stars, similar to how ancient sailors navigated. There are 37 stars, and one is the sun, said Apollo engineer Jerry Woodfill, that provided an accurate way of aligning the spacecraft's computer platform to allow the astronauts to steer their way through the heavens. End quote.
What a load of old nonsense.
Whack on.
You need a flat earth for that.
Uh-oh.
See, the better lie would have been that they couldn't look out or their eyes would have melted.
Yeah, just the
That would have
computer guide. The guidance system was pre-programmed by the computer. It took us there perfectly. No explanation needed beyond it. The computer said yes, and yes is what we achieved. We got there. The computer got us there. It was very clever.
On
Right,
another
but
note,
as far as looking out into the palpable blackness, instead of all that having to deal with Olber's paradox, they could have just said, if we looked outside, our eyes would have melted.
On another note, this is how embedded the infectious indoctrination is of heliocentrism. Loved ones of mine responded on something that I shared that was sent by Eddie Banjo, and I just shared. It was about the Saddaloons, whatever. So this is what a cousin of mine says. Why would they have to fake it? And how could you explain the cell phones that we have in GPS? That's arrogant. That's arrogant ignorance. That's what I mean. There's no saving them. There's no saving them.
Did you just
These are
simply
grown
explain
men.
it to them?
These are 40-something. You cannot via text. And if you talk to them, they treat you like they rumpus you. What is that the name that y'all use? They pretty much rumpus you through it because it's something that makes their blood cells go back. I don't understand it, but this is the thing that this is how they rebuttal. What about GPS and cell phones? Which means the majority of the people don't understand. They don't understand how that thing works. They don't understand how GPS and cell phones work because they believe what they've been.
I just want to bring to the attention that Truth Be Told and Was are both in Gem Pandas. And hey, Truth Be Told and Was, like, come on, like, speak. What's going on with you guys? Huey's here. Come ask us some questions, bros. Come on. Truth be told, Dala and Was, why are you sitting there not saying anything like cowards again?
You gotta have the right bait.
No,
what
it's
they
not
do.
that. It's like it's
What
their
they
business
do,
if they
they
want to
sit
say
there.
something or not. Hang on,
What they
let
do
me
is
say
they
something.
wait till
Hang on,
Nathan's
Diego.
going.
1 second.
Okay.
1 second.
Sorry.
If they don't have to say something, they can sit in there and listen. There's no rules to say you have to say something. Now, if there was people who wanted to come in and say something and they were sitting there saying nothing and taking up space that was needed, then that would be a different thing. They'd have to go or say something. But if they're just sitting there listening, I could join Gem Pandas and never say a word. I'm not on Gem Pandas, but I could and never say a word. I don't have to. I mean, they might say a lot of things on Gem Pandas because they feel comfortable there. They don't feel comfortable here, but they still want to listen in. That's their right. They can do that. There's no.
Yeah,
no,
but Brian,
I'm
we
sure
want them
Nathan
to
agrees with
talk.
me.
No, yeah, but Brian,
No,
they,
yo, let me
they
defend
block.
myself over here. Let me
Okay,
defend myself
please
over here.
do it.
This truth be
Truth be
told,
told.
it's truth be
Thank
told,
you.
man.
Hey,
Yo.
hey, truth be told, what's
Hey,
up?
hey,
You
hey,
know
hey.
I'm into the
Okay,
break,
into the
brother.
break. That's your cue to stop talking.
I speak up when I have value to add. If I don't have value to add, I keep my mouth shut. I don't talk just for the sake of talking. So there we go.
No, yeah, I was just actually agreeing, and I was saying, hey, I was just trying to get you guys into the discussion. I guess that suffices. Good job. Good on you.
You can't force
No
someone
worries.
into talking if they don't want to talk. Just doing their own thing. No. Yeah, I can sit here all day and not talk as well. I don't have to talk. I could just listen in.
No, they were talking to me. I was on Gems, and I just saw them here, and so I was like, hey guys, hey buddies. And they're my friends, and that's basically what I was saying. I was like, we're all friends here. Like, let's have the discussions. Let's have the talks.
Well,
Well, you gotta be a little bit sympathetic with them. They usually have consensus on their side when they're your buddies.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I'll give you whatever. I don't care. It ain't nothing to me to give you a concession that it looks flat. Okay,
I mean,
refraction.
this is me. I don't, like Brian said, freedom of speech, freedom of silence. What irks me is the flip flap yippity yap after there's only like 4 or 5 people left over on the dead show. That's what gets me. Or it's the chitter chatter on the text thread. But silence when it comes to. It's almost like, I don't know. It's like it's an intimidating thing. Maybe they don't know how to speak in public. I don't know what it is, but they do chitter chatter. Once it's down to like just Steve, George, Humble H, Righteous, One Deck. They know what I'm talking about. When it's just a little bit of guys, then that's when the guys
What does
come in
that
with
tell
their
you?
little. They coming in with their
The
little
odds are better.
interjection. Hey, this and that about Nathan, or could you explain this and that? But they were just sitting in the corner, sucking their thumbs.
Well,
right now,
the odds are
that's the
better
point
under
I'm
those
saying.
circumstances. The odds are against them under these circumstances. There's a lot more of us. I've been in that situation where I was speaking when the odds were completely against me, and often the time you don't get heard, or often the time even if you get heard, it's hard to get your point across because there's so many people against you. So it makes if you're from a debating point of view, it makes logical sense to not try and debate people when there is 10 against 1. You know that kind of way? It's just the way it is. I mean, there's nothing you can, it makes sense. I wouldn't be opening my mouth if I was here and them I wouldn't be looking for a debate of everyone here because it's going to be very difficult.
Truth be told and
You're
was
right.
is I was in gyms and they were disparaging me and they were keeping me silent and they were letting some other person in 24/7 like an older person who just kind of just goes off the rails, and it's like I don't mind them doing that, but it's like, hey, we're trying to talk on a focused topic here, and the whole time they were like, "F you, you're a clown," they're very disparaging. I was like, why are you guys being so
Yeah,
mean?
but let me ask you a question then into the break.
And so that's why I'm like,
what are you getting
you
from
guys
being on
now.
gyms? What are you getting from being over at Gym Pandas? Are you learning
being
anything
there,
from being at Gym
what am I
Pandas?
getting?
Yeah, well,
You know
what do you
what
get
I
out of it?
learned? No, I learned what I get out of it is the obfuscation arguments. So it's always concessionless refraction, right? Or it's always
Yeah, but I'm asking
concession.
you personally what you get out of it. Right? I'm asking you,
Personally,
what do you get out of being in there? Is it entertaining? Is it like something you enjoy
What is
doing?
it?
If you don't enjoy it and you're not getting
I've
anything
only
out of
been
it,
there one time. Honestly, I've only been there one time, and it was last night, and I asked them. I was like, I went to 24/7, and they were like, oh, talking about gems. They were having a discussion with somebody, and they kind of weren't getting to the points quick enough for me. And then I was like, yeah, send me to gems. Like that like it seems like it'll keep me sharp on my points, and it did, but it's just complete digression. So it really, I didn't get anything out of it. It's a sad state because it's like I wanted to have discussions about Olber's paradox or about Black Swan, and it was just they just blocked me. They kept me from speaking because I was speaking truth, and so they just stopped me from talking. And then some man-child came on and yelled at me and kept kept doing that, and they would unblock me, and I remember, and they unblocked me. I was like literally eating chips, and then they're like, you had an open
what you're
mic and you
telling
were
me,
eating chips.
is you got nothing out of it. So there's no reason to go there again. There's nothing for you there, other than exactly what you
Absolutely
got.
not.
That's probably what you'll get again.
The only
What's
thing
the
that
point?
it would be is to bring, like, I think that I brought Truth Be Told and was here because I told them I'm going to Nathan's chat now, and then they followed me. So good on, and that's all I choose to do is antagonize these people. I want to antagonize them, and I want them to argue against me. I want them to have an argument against me. That's all I choose to do.
Hey, it's just
Look, if you want
to the
go on,
break.
sorry.
Let me get in. Let me get in there because I mean I think you
Yes,
probably
sir.
confused. I don't think
Okay.
that it was me. Maybe somebody with the same handle as mine, but That's definitely not mine. That's not definitely not me. I've never been into gyms.
But you weren't disparaging me, right?
Hold on, into the break. Just you've invited him to discuss this with you. You've got to let him.
Thank you, sir.
Cool. I've never been on there. I've never engaged you. I think you probably confused with somebody else, but that's not me. I've been around here, Nathan's, for quite some time, and I only engage if I have value to add. So yeah, that's that.
Cool. I mean, we're just here to have a good, fun discussion anyway. So awesome. What about you? Because I'm pretty sure was there. Anyways, it doesn't even matter. You know, it's not even the topic of discussion. We're just where's Arwen at? Arwen, come back me up, brother.
Don't be like that. Right, you're
what?
Nobody's going to just brush over your grievances in regards to going to another server where they're projecting what they claim we are. Everything you've described is what the anti-flat earthers who come here or disparage what we do here describe as being flat earth debate. That's how they describe us, isn't it? Oh, Nathan will just shout at you. Oh, you'll just get muted. But that's what they do. That's actually their MO, right? And you're just demonstrating that. But everybody who sat on that server are the same trolls that will come and project out that onto us.
Yeah, it was interesting last night with the modern day debates. They put us on, they put me on, and they put the whole chat on 60-minute or 60-second, like a full minute, like slow-mo in chat because I was devouring these people just based on polonium radio halos and asking people about what the independent variable for the dynamo effect is, right? And I was like, this is nonsense. This is terrible. This is garbage. I just put 3 because in 3 minutes, and then they fixed it, and they're like, okay, slow mo is set to 20 seconds now instead of 1 minute. But it was like they put it on there because of what I was saying, and then they also then brought it back to 20 seconds because of what I was saying. So it was like they're censoring me. For only so much. But yeah, and was can attest, like they're trying to censor me on Gem Pandas as well. And you know, I go to Bev's. I love Bev's geometrical geometry argument, and you know, we build level. Like that's one that you use now, and it's very valid what level is, and we fly level, but it's
We've
like
always used that.
they don't. Yeah,
Have
and,
they got a
and it
definition over
it
there what
doesn't
level is
exist.
now?
It doesn't exist on its own as a good argument, but with celestial navigation, with building, with flight, level flight, and you know, not aiming for off targets and stuff like that, then the arguments work. And that's why
I think you
you know,
use
I
an
like,
angle in that.
yeah, I like intelligence. I like smart people. Like Arwen is one of my favorite characters, even though he has me blocked. Can you please unblock me, Arwen? I don't want to bring it up in front of
What?
everybody, but can you please unblock me? I'm into the break. Unblock me, brother. I love you.
Who are you?
Into the break.
Okay, I'll check. Sure.
But anyways,
what I'd
I
say
just,
about Bev is that
this is
Bev.
it's a revolution that's happening. It doesn't matter like your little cliques and your little groups. People are open their eyes. They're concerned. Like this person, this truth be told, they're here. They're interested. They're very interested. They're not here for no reason. D Rose, me,
What up, baby?
Chocolate
What up,
some
baby?
years ago,
What up?
Neil. Yeah, all of us. This is the real This is the Protestant Reformation 2.0. This is information. There is something happening on a larger scale than what anybody can quantify with their own minds and with their own ideologues. You know, we're all talking about it. We're all like, oh wow, like, oh, these cats, they're talking about the scriptures. Like, and I never will disparage theology because I'm here for it, but I never took that much concern to it until Divergent Droid and who runs the chat after hours,
Righteous Force.
the moms, Righteous Force, right? Like,
Definitely
I'm learning so much more about theology, and it's nothing to supplement knowledge of the nature of reality and the nature of truth. It's just here's this documentation of people's religion, or not even, like, because it's not even a religion. Here's documentation, and I'm learning so much, and it's all it's inadvertently. It's not even like presented in such a way that it's like, I need to learn this. It's presented in this way where it's you just consume, you just know it, you learn it. Cool. And you don't even know that you're learning. I know what is science. Science is a logical method that is used to describe science is a logical method established by comprehensive observation and systematic experimentation.
Established by QE.
Into the break, by the way, can I please?
I messed up.
It's okay.
You're not blocked over at my chat. I don't know why you say that. I checked. You're not in there.
Well, I never see you in chat. Because you blocked me a long time because I just disparaged Owen, and I don't like what's going on between Jim Bob and Owen and all that stuff now. I don't.
That's
like
that.
that.
2 years ago.
Okay, well, you two are gonna have to
And
work
I'm
this
still
out.
blocked.
You're gonna have to work it out behind the scenes, I'm afraid, into the break, because I'm gonna do a quick last plug for my GoFundMe campaign and say, please support my GoFundMe campaign so I can keep the Flat Earth Debate Studio ticking along as nicely as it has been. And yeah, with that, I'm going to say another massive, huge, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams. Hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, hitting my GoFundMe link, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!